About 40% of Iowa fatality victims were not wearing their seatbelt. Please take 3 seconds and buckle your seatbelt, whether you're in town or out on the highways. It could save your life. This message is brought to you by the Iowa State Patrol and this station.
So I got an email here. Mr. Limbaugh, what do you think of the Browns head coach choice? I've become, a miniature fan of the Browns ever since Hard Knocks last summer, and I love it. I think Freddie Kitchens, I love this kind of hire. Somebody's never done it before. Only been a coordinator for like 10 or I think it's great. I have great high hopes and expectations, and I hope it works. See you on Monday, folks. Adios.
Oh, Liam dropped his hot fudge sundae on the floor.
Not a problem.
Taylor spilled her juice on the seat, and it's purple.
No biggie.
You're letting Brandon eat pizza in the back seat? There's greasy fingerprints all over the windows now.
Relax. I'll call True Image Detailing. They do full interior and exterior detailing starting as low as $50. I'm talking carpets, seats, windows, the whole shebang. They'll even pick up and drop off our car for free and give me a courtesy vehicle.
True Image Detailing?
Yeah, grab your phone and check them out on Facebook. They're pretty awesome.
True Image Detailing, Fort Dodge.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
From tuning an engine to replacing a fuse, you can learn it all under the hood. Heard every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
A milestone in Washington. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The partial government shutdown set to become the longest ever. Tomorrow will be day 22, and Congress is done for the week. The House passing a series of bills that would reopen federal agencies as Democrats slam the president.
Not a word of the financial instability that he is subjecting 800,000 people to, he being the president of the United States.
House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, but Minority Whip Steve Scalise says Democrats refuse to negotiate on border security funding.
Whenever there is a serious counter offer that can be backed up with an explanation of how that can actually secure our border.
The president's wall, still the main obstacle. He is holding a roundtable discussion with community leaders at the White House at this hour. A union representing thousands of air traffic controllers is suing the federal government over the shutdown, arguing they're being deprived of earned wages without due process. A man's facing murder and kidnapping charges the day after a teenage girl missing for months escaped in Wisconsin, where Fox's Jeff Manasso is live.
Lisa, 13-year-old Jamie Kloss made a break for it last night after 3 months of captivity, running away from her kidnapper after he left his rural Douglas County home. She first found a woman walking who took Kloss to a neighbor, Peter Kaczynskis' house, where they called 911 and then later learned that the suspect was on his way back.
We had the kids get downstairs, and I went to a back door of our house just to make sure that nobody was coming in from the back side of the house. And then within 5 minutes of them knowing he was in the area, they had him.
21-year-old Jake Thomas Patterson is being held on kidnapping charges and for allegedly murdering Kloss's parents. The girl has been medically cleared and is now safe. Lisa.
Jeff, a tragic end to a week-long search for a baby boy in San Antonio. Police say the father, who initially claimed the baby was kidnapped, led them to the body this morning. This is Fox News.
I'm Nick Soboleski, a Select Quote agent with a true story that could save you hundreds of dollars a year. A woman named Linda just called. Her husband, Ray, has a $300,000 group life insurance policy, but is changing jobs and can't take it with him. Well, I shopped the many highly rated term life insurance companies we represent and found Ray, who is 41 and takes medication to control his cholesterol, a 10-year, $500,000 policy for under $27 a month. That's almost twice the coverage for less than half of what he had paid. If SelectQuote hasn't shopped for your life insurance, you're probably paying too much.
For your free quote, call 800-597-0315. That's 800-597-0315. 800-597-0315. Or go to SelectQuote.com. Since 1985, We shop, you save.
Get full details on the example policy at selectquote.com/commercials. Or price could vary depending on your health, issuing company, and other factors. Not available in all states.
Supreme Court says Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's recovery from recent cancer surgery remains on track, but that she plans to work from home again next week after missing this week's oral arguments.
It's the first time that she's missed such arguments since joining the court in 1993. She has 4 law clerks who bring her briefs. They keep her up to date on her caseload. Now, taking time off from the court to recuperate is not unheard of. The late Chief Justice William Rehnquist did so in 2004. He missed 44 public arguments.
Fox's David Spunt in Washington. The 85-year-old Ginsburg had lung surgery last month to remove cancerous growths. Doctors say no further treatment is required. Police in Utah say a teenager who crashed into another car earlier this week had covered her eyes as part of the so-called Bird Box Challenge, stemming from the Netflix movie where people are constantly blindfolded. Netflix has already tweeted a warning about the challenge, which has attracted widespread attention recently online. A public apology from an award-winning writer the day after deleting his Twitter account.
Nick Vallelonga, co-writer of the Golden Globe-winning film Green Book, has apologized for a tweet that surfaced supporting a President Trump narrative that Muslims were seen in New Jersey celebrating the terror attacks on 9/11. Vallelonga's tweet attributed the footage to local CBS in New York. Participant Media, which co-produced and co-financed the film, also weighed in, calling his Twitter post offensive and dangerous. Vallelonga said, "I want to apologize. I spent my entire life trying to bring this story of overcoming differences and finding common ground," adding, "I especially deeply apologize to the brilliant and kind Mahershala Ali and all members of the Muslim faith for the hurt I have caused." Michelle Polino, Fox News.
An hour to the close on Wall Street, stocks remain lower. The Dow is down 79 points, falling under 24K. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. 3 men arrested in Kasuth County in the past week faced third-degree kidnapping charges for allegedly trying to prevent a person from providing information to authorities. Radio Iowa's Brian Wilson reports.
Criminal complaints filed on December 31st state that the alleged victim got into a car with Joshua James Smith and Austin Allen Hammond in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2017, and taken to a rural area of northwest Kasuth County and assaulted. Now, afterwards, the alleged victim stated that he wanted to go home and instead was taken to the Goose Lake Wildlife Area in far northern Kasuth County and assaulted once again. It is alleged that Christian Daniel Weitzel was present at Goose Lake and allowed for the victim to be assaulted for a second time. Now, Hammond was arrested on January 4th by the Algona Police Department. Smith and Weitzel were taken into custody by the Kasuth County Sheriff's Department on January 7th. The charge of third-degree kidnapping is a Class C felony. Hammond is scheduled to have a preliminary hearing in Kasuth County Court on January 15th, while Smith and Weitzel are scheduled to appear on January 18th. Reporting from Algona, Brian Wilson for Radio Iowa.
Iowa Congressman Steve King tweeted this morning that if President Trump declares a state of emergency for border security, Trump should build the whole wall out of concrete. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson reports.
Congressman King said a concrete wall along the U.S.-Mexico border would stand forever as a monument to the rule of law. King went on the House floor early in his congressional career with his own model for a fence and a wall along the southern border. King's model called for precast concrete panels 10 feet wide and 13 feet high. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
Much of the southern third to half of Iowa should be buried under snow by Saturday afternoon. Alan Curtis, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service office in Johnston, says the snow is expected to start falling by late this afternoon.
We're not looking at extreme totals by any stretch, but totals could range from as much as about 4 to 6 inches down to the south and towards the Missouri border, and then more towards the 1 to 3, 2 to 3 inch range as we get towards I-80 and just north of there.
A winter weather advisory is posted for an area along and south of Interstate 80. Once the snow tapers off on Saturday, mild conditions are expected through the weekend with highs mainly in the 30s to low 40s. In local sports, number 6 Fort Dodge Wrestling defeated number 3 Waukee last night at the Fort Dodge Senior High Gym by a score of 33-25. Picking up wins for the Dodgers were Drake Ayala, Carson Taylor, Brooks and Lane Cowell, Drazon Phillips, Dravon Ross, Savion Wee, and Tristan Licht. The Dodgers will be on the road in Illinois this weekend. It's rivalry night for Fort Dodge basketball as the Dodgers host Mason City. Girls game is at 6:15 with the boys following at 7:45 on 92.1 The Eagle. St. Edmund is at Iowa Falls Alden with the girls starting at 6:15 and the boys at 7:45 on Sunny 99.7. South Central Calhoun is at Alta with radio coverage on 105.9 The Beach at 6 p.m. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High in the mid-30s this afternoon, cloudy. Tonight, cloudy, areas of snow, and some freezing drizzle, low near 26. There's a high of 32 on Saturday. Lots of clouds. Areas of snow and some freezing drizzle. Saturday night, cloudy, low near 22. High of 34 on Sunday, mainly sunny. Sunday night, partly cloudy, low near 22. High of 38 on Monday, mainly sunny. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm Laura Lockwood. Right now, 32.
Mom, Dad, I'm getting married. It's wonderful, dear.
Congratulations. So have you decided on a date?
Yes, this Saturday. What? Are you serious? We need to plan. There's so much to do.
What about the church? The flowers, music, food, inviting everyone?
You would not want to be faced with those hurried decisions then. Why do that to your family with your own final arrangements? I invite you to sit down with us at Gunderson's to pre-plan your funeral. Pre-planning allows you to make thoughtful decisions with a clear mind. Give us a call at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services, Fort Dodge.
Active Health Chiropractic knows this is the time of year when you are refocusing on your health and lifestyle as a whole. If you want to start this year with less pain, take less medication, sleep better, boost your immunity, and simply get on track toward wellness, give chiropractic a try. Discover the advantages of being an Active Health Chiropractic wellness patient and regain control of your health this year. Trust Active Health Chiropractic to get you there. Active Health Chiropractic, Fort Dodge.
Trust in Active Health Chiropractic and feel better today.
Imagining a better bank starts with looking at the savings rates most banks offer and saying, really? Capital One is building something better. You can open a Capital One savings account with one of the nation's best savings rates from anywhere, like here, or here, or here. One of the nation's best savings rates. Opened online, at a Capital One location, or from anywhere. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One NA, member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
The following message has been paid for by the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship. If you sell fruit and vegetables commercially in Iowa, the FDA's produce safety rule likely affects you. To find out if you are in compliance and to learn about training classes and resources offered by the Iowa State University Food Safety Team, visit iowasafeproduce.com. The training team is coming to the Black Hawk County Extension Office in Waterloo on January 24th. Registration ends January 1400. It was supported by FDA Grant 5810 and does not necessarily represent the official views of the FDA.
Flu season is here. Have you had your shot? Make sure you and your family are protected from the flu by stopping into Daniel Pharmacy for your flu shot. The pharmacists at Daniel Pharmacy are ready to give you your shot today. While you're at Daniel's, they'll check your immunization record to see if you also need a pneumonia, shingles, or whooping cough vaccine. And if you've got a cold, let their helpful staff show you which over-the-counter cold medication works best. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years.
It's Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and yeah, this is a divine intervention. You can always join us by calling 515-955-1400. We're on YouTube. Just go to 1400 KVFD, and there we are. By we, for this segment, I mean myself and Father Patrick Bayman of the Corpus Christi Parish here in town. I should say Holy Trinity.
Right, Holy Trinity.
Holy Trinity, I beg your pardon.
It's all good.
I'm getting back on my regular schedule. Got my old guests like you back. It's been great.
Yes, it's always good to be back.
Had Councilman Terry Minke here today, Greg Hoare, the pork producers, and of course Keith Dinklaw of the Webster County Board of Supervisors. Now that's my regular Wednesday lineup, but of course with the holidays and even with the harvest, not everybody was able to make it all the time.
Nope.
So did you have a good holiday season?
I did. Busy.
Yeah.
Christmas is a busy time of year for priests. And then, of course, New Year's is also busy. I just got back from a conference in Indianapolis that I went to right after the New Year. But all in all, it's been good. And now we're back into the swing of things and starting the second semester of school and just trying to keep going.
Do you teach a class?
I do not. No. I'm just the chaplain.
I was going to say
maybe someday, but not right now. I did teach at one time when I was assigned to Bishop Heelan in Sioux City. I did teach there, but
did you teach just Catholicism or?
Well, just theology. So I taught a class on sacraments, a class on morality, a class on social justice, things like that. So
are those classes accepted as credit worthy by the state of Iowa or not?
Sure.
I mean, okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess I don't know exactly what you mean by that. I mean, most.
I mean, do the public high schools require so many credits to graduate from high school in certain core curriculums? I wonder if they.
Sure. Well, the Catholic schools are required to meet that same standard, and so they have to have the same number of credits as the public schools in language and mathematics and science and things like that. But in addition, we also offer and expect our students to take a certain number of theology credits.
In fact, you
classes.
can't graduate from St. Edmunds without a certain number of theology.
No, sir. No. Or any of the Catholic schools of the diocese. And so, we teach those, and we expect students to take them. They are accredited, obviously, but I don't think it would figure into anything that the state of Iowa would mandate, just because
I don't think the
have
state of Iowa would mandate them. I'm
Right.
wondering if they accepted them as enough credits to graduate from high school.
Well, I would say probably not. I mean, I think if you tried to push that and say, hey, okay, well, we substituted out 6 credits of mathematics for 6 credits of theology, I don't think they would go for that. So it's not either or; it's an addition to.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Okay. You and Monsignor McCoy are the only priests in Webster County.
That's right. Active. and there's a couple that are retired. that live here, sure, but
they say mass every now and then.
Yeah, they help us out. I mean, I had when I went to this conference over the weekend, one of the retired priests helped me out and covered for me in the parish, so that was good.
Why the convents are closed now? When I was a kid, of course, and
some are,
but most of them are closed. Most of them are closed.
Well, we can get into that, but we'll get into that. I've got a little bit of maybe conflicting information. Let's say that.
My mom.
But go right ahead.
I asked my mom once. Of course, my mom is still a devout Catholic.
Yeah.
And I said, well, all the convents seem to be closed here, and she said, yes. The 60s people got them, she said.
I agree with your mother.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
But I understand why Mom is saying that, and I understand the culture changed dramatically. But the Catholic Church began to see nuns in a different way after Vatican II, didn't they?
I would actually say no. I would say no. I think what happened, and maybe what you're referring to, is that there was a misunderstanding or a misreading of what was actually talked about at the Second Vatican Council. So there were a number of things written at the Second Vatican Council on the religious life, on the role of the religious life in the church and how we should view it. I can't think of what the names of these documents are right now. I'm just drawing a total blank in my mind, but they're there. I know they're there. But in any event, I would say that the orders that stayed true to what these documents actually said versus what they wanted them to say and maybe misinterpreted them as saying, the ones that stayed true to them are thriving. So let me give you just a simple example. And I actually preached a homily on this. Golly, it must have been a year and a half ago or so, but I preached a homily on this and the importance of the religious habit. So, by habit, I don't mean, you wake up in the morning every day at 5:00 and you go pray. That's a good habit, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is like what we would typically think of as the proper religious dress. Okay. So it might, different orders will have their different habits. Mm-hmm. And so for instance, the Benedictines have a white habit and the Dominicans have a white habit. The Benedictines have a brown one. Or sometimes black. The Franciscans are usually brown or gray. Things like that, and it identifies the person as a religious, as a man or a woman consecrated to service to Jesus Christ and to the church. In my case, it's my Roman collar, my cleric. Sometimes I'll wear the thing that looks like a dress. It's called a cassock. I don't wear that all that often, but sometimes I do. but these designate me as a religious priest. Well, I'm getting into this because there's actually a reason behind it. The orders that kept these are thriving. And just as a couple of examples, so for instance, this conference that I just went to, there were so many men and women religious there. It was unbelievable how many different orders and different numbers of people that were there, basically appealing to college students. Hey, come check us out. Look at what we're doing. The one thing that they all had in common is that they all wore their habit. And I guess that was one of many things. The second thing that they had in common is that they have many young people entering these orders. So, for instance, the Dominican Sisters of Mary, the Mother of the Eucharist in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I recently got some mailings from them saying that, hey, we need some money. We need to build a new convent. We have too many women joining our order, and we don't have enough room to house them all. The Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia, they're commonly known as the Nashville Dominicans. They have so many young women joining their community that, again, they don't know what to do with all of them. There are a lot of orders and groups like this that are out there in the church. And so they're there. It's just a matter of knowing where they're at and looking at what ties them together. And so in the course of this homily that I preached, like I said, 1.5 years ago, I identified 5 things that tie them together, and I would reiterate them here. Let me see if I can remember them off the top of my head. One is their habit. They're staying true to their calling as religious. Second would be devotion to Mary. Third would be fidelity to the magisterium of the church, so obedience to the Pope and to the bishops. Fourth would be devotion to the Eucharist. And fifth would be generosity. They just emphasize the charism, the virtue of heroic generosity.
And charism means?
Charism just is a fancy way of saying what they do. So, for instance, I use the Dominicans a lot. The Dominican order, their charism is to preach and to teach.
Does that give them any authority? Does charism give them authority?
Not particularly. I mean, no more than another order. And I mean, the sacrament of holy orders, the sacrament of ordination certainly does. But no, I mean, it's just the Dominicans call themselves the order of preachers. And so their charism is to preach. The Jesuits teach and run universities. The Benedictines, their motto is prayer and work, and stability. And so the Benedictine communities take, in addition to the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, they take a vow of stability, meaning that they will stay in the same monastery and community for the rest of their life, with rare exceptions to that. The Franciscans,
do they still do that? Do they still have cloistered nuns?
Oh, sure. Oh, absolutely. You bet. The Franciscans, their charism is kind of service to the poor. Helping of the poor in various different ways. And obviously these overlap. So it's not like the Dominicans don't help the poor, and it's not like the Franciscans don't teach. They do. But in general, there's a specific charism that each community or each order would have. And the ones that have stayed true to those, the ones that have understood who they are and in their own identity, are thriving. And it's beautiful to see the Lord raising up vocations to these communities and to walk, through this hall really and see 100 different communities represented, each with people my age and younger. And I'm in my 30s, and my age and younger. I felt old at this conference. And so, the church is alive. The church is young. There are 18,000 young people, college and high school students at this conference, and it's just incredible to see young people that are taking their faith seriously and that want to live a life of radical discipleship of Jesus Christ.
We'll get back to radical discipleship.
Sure. Sorry, I get going. I
know you do. That's terrific. What is a consecrated virgin?
Ooh, okay. That is a hard question to answer. It's an easy question, but it's a hard question to answer.
That seems to be something that people are doing nowadays.
Okay. So it is sort of like a religious sister, but not exactly. So a consecrated virgin is a young woman who hears and senses a call from Christ to be devoted completely to him, but not as a religious sister. And so she would work and live in the world, have a normal job, but she would make a vow of perpetual virginity to the bishop. And so when she does this, she wears a wedding dress, and because it really is a wedding, like she's literally being wed, being united in marriage to the person of Jesus Christ. It's rare. I personally only know 3 women who are in this vocation, one of whom happens to be from Fort Dodge, actually. But I know 3 women who are in this vocation. It's a beautiful vocation. But I mean, obviously, I know many more priests and many more religious brothers and sisters, people who are in a specific order. But I only know 3 consecrated virgins. But it is a real vocation that's out there in the church, and it's one we don't talk about a great deal.
No, it isn't, because some of these women are not physical virgins when they take this vow to become a consecrated virgin.
That I do not know. I was under the impression from speaking with one of these women that they are actually.
They are physical virgins.
That yes, it is a requirement of the vocation that they actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think anybody checks. I think it's just a matter of you're on your honor on that, but. My understanding, again, I could be way wrong. My understanding.
Well, I'm not 100% positive either.
Right. No. My understanding of it is that women who embrace this vocation are, in fact, virgins.
And they have committed to stay that way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. But without joining a religious order necessarily. Or as a consecrated virgin.
Correct. No, that's correct. They do not join a religious order. That by definition, a consecrated virgin does not join a community like, I always use the big 3 because they're the ones people know: the Benedictines, the Dominicans, the Franciscans.
The big 3.
Yeah. I mean, there are hundreds of orders. In fact, I was at this conference and the priest that I was sharing a hotel room with, he was a priest from the Companions of the Cross. Mm-hmm. It's a religious community. A young religious community. I think they've only been around about 33 years. They're relatively new. And he was there trying to recruit young men to join them.
And what do you belong to a special order? I suppose
I do not.
No,
because every priest needs to be incarnated somewhere. So the technical word is incarnated, and so a priest is either incarnated in his religious order. So again, the Benedictines, the Franciscans, the Dominicans, the Cistercians, the Carthusians, the Companions of the Cross, something like that. Mm-hmm. They're the Jesuits. They're incarnated into that order, or they are incarnated into a diocese. Mm-hmm. And so in my case, I am incarnated in the Diocese of Sioux City. Okay. And so I made a promise of obedience not to my abbot or to my superior, to my religious superior, but I made a promise of obedience to my bishop and to his successors. And so I made a promise to obey Bishop Nicholas in all things. And so Bishop Nicholas, if he calls me up today and says, Father Patrick, one of our priests tragically died in a car accident yesterday. You need to go and become the new pastor of, pick a town in Northwest Iowa, wherever. Well, then I would have to go, because that's what I promised. That's my promise of obedience. Mm-hmm. And that's just the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, I hope that doesn't happen anytime soon.
We shall see. I don't know. I hope not either.
How long have you been here now?
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
2.5 years. I hope not either, but that is up to the bishop and entirely up to the bishop.
Right.
And of course, he does have a group of priests that advise him. Mm-hmm. So he has priests that sit on what we call the priest personnel board. And they're responsible for making all those decisions about, okay, where do we assign this man? Where would his gifts best be utilized in service of the church? Where would he thrive? So what's going to be the healthiest situation for this man? All those questions come into play in that.
Why is there such a priest shortage, do you imagine?
Well, I think that,
you just kind of went into a rather long thing about
I did. I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad that you did. I'm not criticizing, but what I am saying is you spoke at a little bit of a length about thriving communities, religious communities, but we don't seem to see it in the priesthood, at least here in this part of the world.
Right. There are places where it's thriving.
Mm-hmm.
I throw out one example all the time: the Diocese of Lincoln, Nebraska. I was actually just perusing website of one of their Catholic high schools, looking at some of the things that they do for their theology curriculum. And I noticed that they have 15 priests and 2 sisters that teach in their Catholic high school. 15 priests, and they're my age. I'm like, goodness gracious, it's unbelievable. And so it's thriving there. Well, I would say that there are really 3 primary reasons of why we have a shortage of vocations. One would be fear of and lack of understanding of celibacy. That we see celibacy as such a burden rather than a gift. And I can honestly say that I have come to see it as a gift in my I guess 7.5 years since I made my promise of celibacy. That's the first thing, that we see celibacy as a burden rather than a gift. And that's just a matter of increased catechesis and evangelization in helping people understand that celibacy is a great gift. And if God is calling you to that, then, it's where you find happiness and joy. So that's the first thing. The second thing would be families. Okay. Priests don't just fall out of the air. They come from families and they come from faithful families.
Sure.
And so if mom and dad practice the faith and encourage their sons and daughters to pray about and consider their vocation, and not just, what field is going to make you the most money, or what field is going to make you the most successful, or, I want grandkids, whatever it is. If parents encourage their kids to pursue these vocations, vocations will thrive. So the first one, fear of and lack of understanding of celibacy. Second of all, we got to have faithful families. Third of all, we have to have devotion to the Eucharist. And so, as Catholics, we believe that the Eucharist is the body and blood of Jesus Christ. It's not symbolic. It's not something that reminds us of Jesus. It really is him. And in those places where Eucharistic adoration is promoted and where it thrives, vocations flourish. So again, the Diocese of Lincoln, Nebraska, I think they have 11 chapels in their diocese where the Eucharist is being adored 24/7. The same thing in the Diocese of Wichita, Kansas, which also has more priests and seminarians than they know what to do with. Well, why is that? Well, because they're promoting adoration of the Eucharist. And
Hey guys,
where
meet your
Jesus
old-
is honored and praised and worshipped, he grants equal blessings. And so I think it's proportional. The more we honor and serve and love and promote discipleship to Jesus, the more people are ready to stand up and say, you know what? I want to be on the front lines of this fight. I want to be out there in the trenches, inviting more people to come and follow and know Jesus because he's changed my life.
Do you think that there are actually more people coming to the priesthood than, Father?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I do. I think we have seen numbers dip, but I think they are coming back. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And I really, truly believe that God is raising up a new springtime of vocations in the church. And again, I mentioned the Diocese of Wichita and Lincoln. You look at some of these orders that I mentioned, there's a lot that I didn't mention that are thriving, that just have more young men and women than they know what to do with. And interestingly enough, they're the ones that we would look at and say, oh man, you guys are pretty intense. They're the ones that get up at 5 a.m. every day to pray. And they're the ones that, have a common life of community and that, like I said, wear their habits and are engaged in that ministry. That's what people are attracted to. That's what young people want today.
I'm sorry we're out of time, but keep this in mind. The next time you come back, you said a lot of people misunderstand the commitment or the gift of celibacy.
Sure.
I'd like to follow up on
that. Let's talk about it. I think that's a great conversation.
Father Patrick Bain has been our guest. Thank you, sir. 5 o'clock in the
Michael Devine at AM 1400
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
with 60 rounds of freedom.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 232. The news and Denise Valentine coming up.
Current price times 1,000 acres, carry the one. These days, it's hard to make the math work for your soybean fields. The BASF Liberty Link system with Liberty herbicide makes it easier. Start with a 2+ bushel per acre yield advantage. Add in lower system input costs and more complete weed control, and you get an extra $33 or more profit potential per acre. compared to Asgrow Roundup Ready to Extend soybeans. Grow smart with Liberty Link and BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
We're live on the red carpet, waiting for the next generation Credenz soybean. There he is.
Oh, Ed, look, it's Credenz Liberty Link GT27.
I know, Edna. He's got elite genetics.
You gotta love his 4 bushel per acre yield advantage.
And he's both Liberty and glyphosate herbicide tolerant.
Definitely the year's hottest performer. Ask your Credenz retailer about the new Credenz Liberty Link GT27 soybeans.
Grow smart with BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Ford Dodge 233. Janice Valentine, local attorney, will join us in a few minutes. It's always great to talk with Janice. 33 degrees right now. There is a hazardous weather condition bulletin, so to speak. Light snow is expected along the Highway 30 and Highway 20 corridors tonight with some minor accumulations. In addition, patchy freezing drizzle is possible north of Highway 20 overnight. Light snow is expected to persist along and south of Highway 20 on Saturday with some additional minor accumulations. Some freezing drizzle will also be briefly possible as the snow ends. So yeah, it's, we've been pretty lucky. We're going to have to get some of this. This afternoon, cloudy, high 35. Overnight, again, patchy snow, freezing drizzle. Tomorrow, patchy snow and freezing drizzle. And a slight chance of snow between 2 and 5. On Sunday, mostly sunny with a high of 34. Light and variable winds. On Monday, mostly sunny with a high of 38. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 38. Wednesday, partly sunny with a high of 28. And on Thursday, sunny with a high of 32. Right now, again, 33 degrees at AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Ford Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 2:35. Here's Dwayne Murley with the Farm Report.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn up 2 cents at 3.78 1/4. May up 2 1/4 at 3.86 3/4. July corn closed up 2 cents at 3.94 1/4. September up 2 1/4 at 3.97 1/4. In the soybeans, January up 3 3/4 at 8.99 1/4. March up 3 1/2 at 9.10 1/4. May beans up 3 cents at 9.23 3/4. July up 4 cents at 9.36 1/4. March wheat closed up 5 3/4 at 5.19 1/2. Soybean meal down 2.20 a ton at 3.10.40. February live cattle up a dime at 124.97. April up 45 cents at 126.37. January feeder cattle down 62 cents at 146.12. March down 17 at 144.90. February lean hogs down 142 at 62.65. April down 50 cents to 67.35. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom. If you don't listen to him, you suck.
He's sneaky, but he's right.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Okay, hip hop array, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's Friday. Hey ho, that's working for me. Janice Valentine is on the phone with me. How are you, Janice?
I'm fabulous. How about you?
I know you're fabulous. Janice Valentine is a local attorney. She's with Valentine Law Office PC. You can reach Janice Valentine by calling 515-955-5544. Janice practices primarily in workers' compensation and personal injury. There is no fee for a first consultation. You can reach her also at jvalentine at valentinelaw.net, at 415 the Boston Center, 809 Central Avenue, Fort Dodge, or at www.valentinelaw.net. It's great to talk with you again, Janice. We missed you there for a week or two over the holidays. Of course, I was gone quite a bit over the holidays as well, but we seem to have settled into our routine once again, and that's okay. We even have snow in the forecast. Talk about a routine for January.
Yeah, when they've got those brining units out, you know the fun is coming.
The fun is definitely coming. Yesterday, I talked with State Senator Randy Feenstra, and I've talked with Senator Feenstra a few times. He's from Hull, Iowa. He's a graduate of Dordt College. And, of course, Dordt College, we have perhaps the most famous genuine hero of Dordt College living right here in Fort Dodge. I'm talking about Marlo Brandenhorst, of course. And Senator Feenstra is a graduate of Dordt College, and he is a business instructor there. I believe I talked with him yesterday, but I forgot to ask him if he was a CPA, but I believe that he is. He has a heavy finance background. He's an ebullient and ferocious guy. That sounds contradictory, but it really isn't. I mean, he really believes in what he's doing. He really believes in the beauty of numbers, and he is a rock bottom conservative. And he has decided to primary Steve King, who, by the way, I will speak with for an entire hour on the 23rd of this month. Now, I was a little surprised, but after thinking about it for 2 minutes, I really am not surprised. Now, I asked Senator Feenstra this question yesterday. I asked if the establishment, the Republican Party establishment, and there is such a thing in Polk County primarily, and they're a consortium of pretty wealthy people. I asked if the establishment were tired of King and had recruited him, and he said that they had not. But I'm not going to sit here and imply that Senator Feenstra would be dishonest. But man, I got to believe that he at least got a go-ahead from those folks in Des Moines. And this is an indication that attitudes seem to be changing in the 4th District toward Congressman King. Now, maybe yours hasn't. I don't think you've ever been a big fan, but
no, not been a fan from pretty much the get-go.
Kind of, but you are a longtime resident of the 4th District, born in the 4th District, or was it the 5th District when you were young? I don't remember now. We used to have.
It's always been. I think we've always been in the 4th. I think I've always been in the 4th District.
Okay, well, I was. I think I was in the 5th for a while. Berkeley Bedell was my congressman, I remember, but I don't know, it was a long time ago. And we used to have 6 districts in Iowa, but or maybe even 8, but population shrank, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, you have identified as a Republican in the past. What do you think? What do you think of this? Is this a good thing to have Senator Feenstra, a Republican, challenging another Republican, even it is a Republican that you don't like?
I think it's an excellent thing, actually, for a couple of reasons. One, I think we're seeing at a national level that the Republican leaders there are not enamored with King anymore. And those that were kind of keeping their mouths shut before are now being a little more vocal about their displeasure with his comments, particularly this last week. And I think that that's a signal that should bode well for a competitor. My understanding is there might be, if not one more, maybe even 2 more that might be primarying against him. So stay tuned on that. But Feenstra obviously is the first one that's come out of the chute. So I think it's time to show King that his rhetoric is not what the people in the 4th Judicial or Congressional District support and are not going to elect that kind of individual. I wouldn't even be surprised if he elects not to run, which, you'll obviously have time to talk to him about that. And I would imagine he would say, he would posture as he needs to probably at this point in time. But I would imagine there's some people telling him not to run. Because I think the Republican Party is worried about that seat. If he succeeds in the primary, he's very at risk in losing that seat to a Democrat.
I would disagree with you on that part particularly, Janice. I don't think the Democrats have a chance in the Iowa's congressional 4th as it is right now. However, and by the way, I would not turn my back on Steve King. I've always liked Steve King. I supported a lot of his policies, but I have to tell you, and I've said this on the air several times since the election, I'm getting a little tired of Congressman King showing up in Toronto and getting involved, for God's sake, in the Toronto mayor's race. What the hell is he doing up there? I don't need to hear he's been in Australia giving interviews to a right-wing magazine. We kind of know where Congressman King stands. Mm-hmm. The flaw that I see in Congressman King right now, and it's getting to be a big one, And I think this is an outgrowth. This flaw is an outgrowth of everything we're seeing right now. This flaw is he keeps repeating himself over and over and over again on the most controversial things in our country right now. I think we know where he stands. I'm pretty sure that we all know where he stands. Now, he's been fighting a one-man culture war, and he's starting to lose. Not with the liberals, not with the Democrats, because he never had them in the first place, and they'll never support him. He's starting to lose with guys like me, who are starting to get a little tired of it. We support him, we like him, we enjoy his company, but for God's sake, man, come to the Congressional Fourth and do your business. Do our business.
And that's the issue. I mean, I think it detracts from what we could get done for our area. And that's why I think, that's another reason why I think it's time for new blood. Not to mention, and you know I'm a big supporter of this, but term limits, just we need change. We need to get some new blood in there, and we need to get people in those seats that can actually be a voice for our area. And right now, King is not that voice.
I'm going to digress here just for a minute to President Donald Trump's speech the other night on the wall. I don't know why he made such a big deal of getting national airtime for that speech. It was uninspiring. It didn't convince anybody of anything. And I thought that was one of the worst performances I'd ever seen until Gomez and Morticia showed up right after him.
What was up with that?
What was up with that? It's right. That's the first thing that struck me. Oh, my God, the Addams Family's on television.
Yeah, it was a little disturbing. I mean, if you were a small child, you might have actually had nightmares.
Oh, you might have run. You might have run into the other room screaming, "Mommy, mommy!" There's bad people on TV.
Yeah. You know, I didn't get to see it live.
Oh.
I did read the transcript and I saw snippets the following morning, which is why I knew the visual that you're talking about. But if you just read the transcript, you can't make this up.
No, you really can't.
It was probably one of the worst. If that was a written speech, fire that speechwriter. I mean,
are you talking Trump or Gomez and Morticia? Or who are you talking about?
I'm talking Trump.
You're talking Trump. Okay.
You know, I didn't read the transcript of what the other two buffoons had to say either, but you know, yeah, we need to be working together, and we all are going to feel differently about this wall. I happen to think that I don't think it really solves the problem. From my perspective, I think the largest bunch of, if we want to call them undocumented workers here, are folks that actually were here or got here legally, and then their papers expired. That's the largest chunk of people that are, you know, supposedly not supposed to be here. And, you know, a wall isn't going to stop that. So, and not to mention a wall just isn't really functional. I mean, we're dealing with a river border there, first of all. So I don't know. I would be interested to see what the folks in Texas or whatever feel about having perhaps their property absconded to Mexico. I mean, isn't that the reality? I mean, if we actually build a physical wall, it's going to have to be some distance from the Rio Grande, and that's going to be people's land. And I don't know, I guess the government buys that, but then it must belong to Mexico afterwards or something. I just don't know physically and logistically how this wall even works.
Well, the wall's not going to solve the problem, Janice, but it is a powerful deterrent, I believe. And as far as the ranchers and landowners on the border, they've been living in terror for a long time. That border is a dangerous place because there's so many vulnerable people there to be exploited. There are bandits there, rapists there. It's a rough place. It's a lawless area, and there's crimes and threats being made toward the ranchers on their own property by people who are not here in this country legally. Now, Gomez and Morticia offered nothing. Trump's, I've already told you what I think of Trump's waste of time there. It was a waste of time. Gomez and Morticia, Another waste of time. They offered nothing. They offered nothing other than we're not going to do the wall. Fine. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, comprehensive immigration reform. Well, shut up. Spell it out then. If you really have a plan to stop these caravans from coming, because I don't think these caravans are in our best national interest. If you really have an interest in doing that, if you have a plan in doing that, bring it forward. Just don't stand there like a couple of the Walking Dead and say no wall. I mean, we have, in my lifetime, this is the worst group of leaders I've ever seen. And I've seen some bad ones.
And that's the symptom, more so than the problem. And I go back to, when Republicans controlled the House and the Senate, and, it should have been a clear shot to get rid of, what you want to call Obamacare, but they had nothing, right? I mean, this is what they campaigned on for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And they get the trifecta, and they have nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it just makes no sense. We have leaders that aren't leading because, like you said, we've heard comprehensive immigration reform for how many years now? Somebody has to be writing up a plan, but maybe not. Maybe they're just talking about it, and nobody wants to pull the trigger and say, let's do this.
Well, of course, illegal immigration, unskilled labor benefits big California ranchers. Now, that's something Nancy Pelosi, the hero to the left, never mentions. And the reason I brought up Gomez and Morticia and the whole Trump thing is that Nancy Pelosi is 78 years old. You want to talk about somebody who needs to be term limited, it's probably Nancy. Steny Hoyer, the assistant majority leader, is 79.
Yeah.
We have people refusing to get off stage. Trump is 71 or 2, but he's going to leave us soon. He's going to get on his little bicycle and ride out of the circus arena one of these days, and he'll go back to playing golf at Mar-a-Lago full time. Fine, goodbye. It was weird to have you here, but what we have here is a permanent political class who seems really, and I would put this on Mitch McConnell as well, who are really interested in keeping themselves where they are.
Absolutely.
I just don't believe that they have. It has become so partisan that the best interest of the country. I mean, they can hardly say it with a straight face anymore. That's what it seemed like Gomez and Morticia were really trying to tell us. Is this was good? Whatever they were saying was going to be in the best interest of the country, and then they went on to say nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, and think of the time that was spent supposedly preparing for that nothingness. That could have been spent in actual talks, and that's what grown-ups do.
Yeah.
Grown-ups have to make compromises. And while, you clearly know I'm not in favor of the wall, if that's the compromise that needs to be made, we need to look at these things. We need to look at all issues and decide what can we, I guess part of my problem is I'm not even sure Trump even cares about the wall anymore. I think he just wants to fight about the wall.
Well, he campaigned on it. Yeah, he does. It's become a symbol. It's become a symbol for Trump and Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats.
Yep.
Nancy Pelosi says it's an immorality. Well, that's odd.
No, it's not.
It's an odd phrase. It's an immorality. If it's immoral, Nancy say it's immoral. Don't say it's an immorality. And Trump just wants it because he promised. That was a big campaign promise of his.
But he also promised that Mexico was going to pay for it.
That's exactly right. Nobody believed that. Nobody believed that, and nobody does today. But it has just become a symbol. And right now with this government shutdown and the trade war going on with China and the wall thing, can't we get something done here? Because it's all going south here. I mean, this isn't a good thing that we have going on here. But I shouldn't even taken us down the road of national politics because I just start ranting. But anyway, AM 1400 KBFD, the voice for Dodge. Denise Valentine is our guest. We had an ag gag rule here in our state, and the ag gag rule simply forbid anyone from entering an animal confinement operation, whether it be chickens or pork or beef or whatever, and taking videos. It prohibited anybody from applying for employment at a animal confinement operation with the idea of reporting what was going on in that animal confinement operation. Now, this ag-gag rule was taken to court and has been defeated now twice. And I should say it has been shot down twice by judges who felt it's an infringement of free speech. You're an attorney. Do you think there's an element of spying here? There's an element, what we're saying is that political activists can secretly enter a facility or under some sort of subterfuge, enter a facility, a private property, and indulge in political activism while on the premises, or certainly shortly thereafter. I'll tip my hand to you. After a little soul searching, I had to come down on the side of the judge in this one. I don't like some of the people who do these things. I don't like the groups they belong to, but it is, I don't know how you stop them. I don't know how you do that. But anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
I do. And I think one thing we have to keep in mind, although I'm not naive enough to think that in this day and age you can't just slap a video out there in social media. But, most employment facilities do have rules and contracts that you sign saying, you're not going to do that type of activity and share, because there's in some situations trade secrets, those types of things that obviously employers want to protect and should protect, or businesses want to protect. I'm with you. I guess the farm girl in me says, I know how we treated our animals. You could have videotaped me any day on the farm with any of the animals, and I would have been just fine with whatever you would have shown. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's the bigger picture to me. If you are not doing something, now clearly, a kill floor at a hog slaughtering plant, that they're going to be killing pigs.
Yes.
That's the whole point.
Yes. And we know how to do that here or not.
Yes.
I was telling David Osterberg yesterday, now if you take a video of what's happening on the kill floor and you send it out to the San Francisco Examiner, and those folks see that on the newspaper website, they're all grossed out. They're horrified. They're demanding something that be done. And then they go down to a seaside restaurant and have a pork chop.
Exactly.
Because they didn't, they're urban West Coast people. They don't, frankly, I have a confession. I've slaughtered animals, chickens, hogs. Yes, I've done it.
I've done chickens. I've never slaughtered a hog, but I used at my grandma used to raise a bunch of chickens that they were actually the size of turkeys by the time we slaughtered them. But I've participated in that activity, and it's not anything I want to do for a career, but that's part of the food chain.
Yes.
And that's how our meat gets to our table. In fact, it's not just the coastal people. You'd be surprised. My parents still show cattle at the fairs, and they're very. My dad's mission is always to help little kids understand where their milk comes from.
Sure.
And he'll have little kids argue with him, saying that's not where my milk comes from.
It comes from the store. Yeah.
and they don't get that those things do happen with animals. So, I think there are obviously things that happen to animals that destroy them, because that's, again, part of the food chain. But if you're treating animals in facilities inappropriately, shame on you,
Well,
and that doesn't mean they're living in little suites. Like if you've ever toured a thoroughbred horse racing area, the one I went to was in Kentucky. Holy cow, they live better than we do. Those horses are pampered. So I don't think anyone expects animals to live like that, but farm animals do not live like your puppy dog that sleeps in your bed with you. There's a difference.
The real truth is no livestock owner, no poultry owner would intentionally harm or damage his own livestock or poultry because that's money to him or her. That's an investment. What? I bought a bunch of hogs and now I'm going to abuse them? I mean, that would be foolish at best. Nobody does that. Hey, let me make an investment, then lose the investment just to cruelty and stupidity. I mean, the guys that were caught throwing baby pigs against the wall, they got fired. They didn't get fired because of pressure from animal rights groups. They got fired because they were harming the investment of the company owner, and they should have been fired.
Yes, and you know, I know from the work that I do, the individuals that are responsible for raising, you know, the hogs for the different facilities, part of their pay is based on success.
Sure.
You know, making sure you don't have a large loss in terms of animals, and that's a big incentive. You know, money obviously incentivizes people in a very strong way. So,
yes. Yeah.
So if you're told, you know, if you have X amount of deaths per 100, that's going to dock your pay. You're going to keep those hogs as healthy as you can.
We're running out of time here. It's always great to talk with Janice Valentine. My next guest is Representative Mike Sexton. Is there any question you would like me to relay to the Scrapster?
Well, I saw again the idea of changing how judges are selected, and I have very strong opinions about that. So I would love to talk to Mike about that sometime if I don't know where he's on that issue, but that's something that I think needs to just be hands off in terms of taking political control over yet another branch of the government.
I value our friendship, Janice, but I just can't get with you on this one.
We'll talk more about that maybe next week.
Yes, we will. Janice Valentine's been our guest. Thank you so much, Janice.
Have a great weekend, Mike.
You too. This is AM 1400. KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. The snow and Mike Sexton are coming, so get ready. 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in North Central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Get it done. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump's message to Congress at the end of his latest event on border security. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
President Trump during a roundtable discussion on border security appearing to back away from his promise yesterday that he would soon declare a national emergency in order to build a southern border wall.
I'd rather not do it because this is something that Congress should easily do. This is something that the Democrats should do. And I don't want to give an easy way out of something as simple as this.
The president acknowledging that a national emergency declaration would likely be immediately challenged in the federal courts. Lisa?
Thanks, John. Many unanswered questions about what happened to a 13-year-old girl in Wisconsin who's being reunited with her family the day after escaping from the man suspected of killing her parents nearly 3 months ago. Kelly Engelhardt is her aunt.
We didn't know where Jamie was. Now we do. And that's the puzzle piece that was missing. And now we have that. And we are beyond words. We cannot even, my family cannot even express how happy we are. We're excited.
Sheriff's officials say they think that kidnapping Jamie Claus was the motive for her parents' killing, and they don't think the suspect, 21-year-old Jake Patterson, knew the family. However, he did work at the same factory as Jamie's parents, but only for one day, nearly 3 years ago. Late reports of a school shooting in Oregon. However, school officials say all students are safe. There are no injuries. No other details yet. This happening at Cascade Middle School in Eugene. It has been on lockdown. Wall Street snaps a 5-day winning streak. The Dow down about 7 points at the closing bell, back under 24K. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Suspect in the killing of a rookie police officer in California is also dead.
22-year-old Davis police officer Natalie Corona was killed while working a traffic incident when a suspect at the scene of the accident opened fire. He fled, and after a brief search, cops found him barricaded inside a nearby house. After trying to communicate with him, they went in. They say they found him dead from his self-inflicted gunshot wound. Davis Police Chief Darren Patel says Natalie was full of life and a joy to be around.
She just worked like you can't believe. In fact, there was a period of time that before going to the academy that we ran out of the funding for her paid position. And despite that, she still came in and volunteered.
Another rookie female officer was killed this week in Shreveport, Louisiana. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A woman who's been on the run from police in Arizona for nearly 2 weeks is found and captured in Las Vegas. Officials announcing this today. 21-year-old Crystal Whipple is accused of skipping out on a manicure, then using a stolen car to run over and kill a salon worker who tried to stop her. A Saudi teenager who used social media to plead for asylum is heading to her new home country.
Police in Thailand saying Rahaf Mohammed Al Qanun is flying to Canada, having been granted asylum there. The 18-year-old from Saudi Arabia barricaded herself in a hotel room at Thailand's main airport last weekend, using social media to broadcast calls for help when she was stopped by Thai authorities. She said she was trying to flee from her family, who she claims had threatened to kill her. Her video messages on Twitter attracted the attention of the United Nations. Simon Owen, Fox News.
Recapping Wall Street, stocks finished lower, but not a sell-off. The Dow down about 6 points, under 24K. But for the week, the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the S&P all finish higher. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. 3 men arrested in Kossuth County in the past week faced third-degree kidnapping charges for allegedly trying to prevent a person from providing information to authorities. Radio Iowa's Brian Wilson reports.
Criminal complaints filed on December 31st state that the alleged victim got into a car with Joshua James Smith and Austin Allen Hammond in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2017, and taken to a rural area of northwest Kossuth County and assaulted. Afterwards, the alleged victim stated that he wanted to go home and instead was taken to the Goose Lake Wildlife Area in far northern Kossuth County and assaulted once again. It is alleged that Christian Daniel Whitesell was present at Goose Lake and allowed for the victim to be assaulted for a second time. Now, Hammond was arrested on January 4th by the Algona Police Department. Smith and Whitesell were taken into custody by the Kossuth County Sheriff's Department on January 7th. The charge of third-degree kidnapping is a Class C felony. Hammond is scheduled to have a preliminary hearing in Kossuth County Court on January 15th, while Smith and Whitesell are scheduled to appear on January 18th. Reporting from Algona, Brian Wilson for Radio Iowa.
Iowa Congressman Steve King tweeted this morning that if President Trump declares a state of emergency for border security, Trump should build the whole wall out of concrete. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson reports.
Congressman King said a concrete wall along the U.S.-Mexico border would stand forever as a monument to the rule of law. King went on the House floor early in his congressional career with his own model for a fence and a wall along the southern border. King's model called for precast concrete panels 10 feet wide and 13 feet high. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
Much of the southern third to half of Iowa should be buried under snow by Saturday afternoon. Alan Curtis, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service office in Johnston, says the snow is expected to start falling by late this afternoon.
We're not looking at extreme totals by any stretch, but totals could range from as much as about 4 to 6 inches
down to the south and towards the Missouri border, and then more towards the 1 to 3, 2 to 3 inch range as we get towards I-80 and just north of there.
A winter weather advisory is posted for an area along and south of Interstate 80. Once the snow tapers off on Saturday, mild conditions are expected through the weekend with highs mainly in the 30s to low 40s. In local sports, number 6 Fort Dodge Wrestling defeated number 3 Waukee last night at the Fort Dodge Senior High Gym by a score of 33-25. Picking up wins for the Dodgers were Drake Ayala, Carson Taylor, Brooks and Lane Cowell, Drazon Phillips, Dravon Ross, Savion Wheat, and Tristan Licht. The Dodgers will be on the road in Illinois this weekend. It's rivalry night for Fort Dodge basketball as the Dodgers host Mason City. Girls games at 6:15 with the boys following at 7:45 on 92.1 The Eagle. St. Edmund is at Iowa Falls Alden with the girls starting at 6:15 and the boys at 7:45 on Sunny 99.7. South Central Calhoun is at Alta with radio coverage on 105.9 The Beach at 6 p.m. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High of 35 this afternoon under overcast skies, winds out of the southeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies. Tonight, chance of snow, lows around 25. Chance of snow again tomorrow, high of 32, cloudy. Temperatures a bit above average Sunday and Monday with highs from the mid-30s to the upper 30s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 33.
Celebrate the new year with big savings at Humboldt Motor Sales. Drive away in a new Buick and pay no interest for 72 months, or choose huge cash rebates on that new Buick. Take 19% off GMC Sierras at Humboldt Motor Sales. That's a savings of over $10,000. Take over $7,000 off the new GMC Terrain. Save $4,500 on the GMC Acadia and Chevy Equinox. Celebrate the new year with big savings now at Humboldt Motor Sales. See their complete inventory online at HumboldtMotors.com.
Tough as nails, nerves of steel. If you've come to test our metal, you better tighten up your chin strap. Get amped up for all the great iron action on the Panther Sports Network.
University of Northern Iowa Sports are brought to you on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD by Mitch Lund State Farm, Party Productions, The Other Store, and New Age Media. Catch UNI Sports right here on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Imagining a better bank starts with looking at the savings rates most banks offer and saying, really? Capital One is building something better. You can open a Capital One savings account with one of the nation's best savings rates from anywhere, like here. Or here. Or here! One of the nation's best savings rates. Opened online, at a Capital One location, or from anywhere. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One NA member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
I accept this gavel in the spirit of partnership, not partisanship. It's an historic moment for the Congress. It's an historic moment for the women of America.
Assistant Majority Leader of the Iowa House of Representatives, Mike Sexton, and some really unimportant guys.
That are stupid.
On AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, you heard it right there, ladies and gentlemen. Nancy Pelosi accepted the gavel in the spirit of nonpartisanship. Does anybody believe that in the world? What do you think there, Representative?
I certainly don't believe it.
I always love Fridays because we have Representative Scrappy here. Mike Sexton is here. He's also the Assistant Majority Leader. I want to dive right into it with you, Mike. I had Randy Feenstra on the air with me briefly, Republican Senator, currently serving on the faculty of Dordt College, Marlo Brandehorst's alma mater, and of course Marlo's a legend at Dordt College.
I don't think I've ever met Marlo.
You've never met Marlo?
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever. You guys talk about him all the time.
Oh, we have to arrange that meeting.
He's legendary.
Just to meet him is a life-changing experience.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever met him.
The legendary Marlo Brandehorst. But anyway, Senator Feenstra is a Republican. He's not a liberal by any stretch of the imagination. But he has announced that he's going to challenge Congressman Steve King for the Iowa 4th District seat. Now, I asked him on air, you were listening part of it. First of all, he stood me. Randy Feenstra is the first person running for office in my 10 years on the air who stood me up I mean, and that includes,
Right, he's going to lose right there.
Well,
you don't do that to Mike Devine.
You don't do that.
You don't do that to the big 1400.
The big 4. That's the death knell. It's your political grave. But anyway, that would include Donald Trump never stood me up. Bernie Sanders never. Chuck Grassley. Chris Christie. None of those.
The Scrapster. Don't forget the
Scrapster
shows
never.
up in snowstorms.
That's right. He shows up no matter what, ladies and gentlemen. And Randy Feenstra apparently couldn't call. It must have been a real traffic jam in beautiful downtown Sioux Rapids there. He couldn't get his phone to work or something. Anyway, I finally got him on the air for a few minutes, and I asked him the obvious question. Is the Republican Party establishment, as, by the way, Steve King's camp is accusing him of being, is the Republican Party establishment, and that would be a bunch of rich guys in Polk County, are they tired of Steve King and they're trying to get rid of him through Randy Feenstra? What do you think?
Well, Rick Bertram, who ran against King, not this cycle, but 2 cycles ago, that's exactly what he said to me. Oh, the establishment's not behind this. Well, you know they are.
Yeah.
You know, especially then you have the Messenger today comes out and how, King's being attacked again today. So, and it says that the folks in Washington, leadership in Washington.
Oh, that's such a bunch of crap.
They're upset with him. So
Liz Cheney, a representative,
third highest ranking Republican
from Wyoming.
I didn't know she was that high up the chain.
I didn't know either. But
that surprised me when
I
read that.
Dick's daughter, by the way.
Dick's daughter.
But that means 3 people come out. 3 Republicans come out in opposition to King, and all of a sudden the tide is turning and King is doomed.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's what elections are for. If Randy wants to do that, that's fine. I think it screws up the whole legislative process. I really do. He's going to be one of, it's a lot different when you're there representing your district than when you're sitting in that chair and you want to represent the whole congressional 4th district. That it makes you're going to vote different. You're going to think different. I don't care what he says. That's just the way it is. And I'm upset with Senator Veenstra anyway. I think we stayed an extra 7 to 10 days last year in session because he was unwilling to compromise on the whole tax issue. He talk about somebody that's stubborn and unwilling to compromise. In my opinion, that's Randy Veenstra.
Really?
Yes.
What was his problem last year with the whole tax thing?
He was stuck on the whole. There was the Senate their tax plan was a lot larger than the House tax plan, and the House believed it was unsustainable and we had to shrink it down, and Senator Veenstra just would not compromise.
He wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't come down. Finally his leadership must have got to him, and they got things worked out. But we were there longer than we ever should have been. When the Republicans have the House, the Senate, and the governor, there is absolutely no reason you shouldn't be done on time. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be in favor of holding up the whole thing for over something like that. I'll ask him about it the next time I talk with him. He's been on the show a few times, by the way, if you want to find out more about Randy Feenstra, he has a YouTube channel. I don't know if you can just go to it and type in Randy Feenstra, but I found him on YouTube a few times. And of course, he's raising hell about something.
Yeah.
Usually at the Democrats. But Janice Valentine, our friend Janice Valentine, was on the air with me in the last segment, and I told her a Democrat is not going to win in Iowa's congressional fourth. Not in my lifetime. Of course,
it's the biggest Republican district in the. It's not. It's not the biggest, it's the second biggest in the whole country.
So realizing that the Republican Party wants to get King out, I'm not getting that.
Yeah, I don't. And Mike, I truly don't believe it's the Republican Party in Washington. I think it's the
state party?
Yes, it's the state level. It's at the state level because he doesn't play nice.
Well, having said that though, Mike, and I've said this all along since last year's election, I don't need Congressman King up in Toronto in the mayor's race.
Oh,
Or,
I'm
tired of hearing
I
that
agree.
stuff.
Steve King and I go way back. He and I served together in the Senate 20 years ago, and he taught me a lot of things when I was a young senator. He and I spent a lot of time, and back then he wasn't.
He wasn't who he was now.
He wasn't who he was today,
because he's a national figure now.
He is, and he's a lightning rod.
Oh,
definitely. And I think the problem, Mike, is he likes being a lightning rod.
I think so.
He
may deny it, but I think he likes it.
I think he does too.
He likes it getting on MSNBC and fighting with those people.
Yeah, he does. He likes to defend his point of view, and he gets on those shows by saying the things he does. So then he gets the opportunity to prove.
Get in there and fight with him.
Yep.
And I hate him too. I hate that MSNBC crowd there, Rachel Maddow and all those people. They're disgusting. Disgusting. Representative Mike Sexton is our guest at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dutch. Is there going to be an Eggs and Issues in January or not? Or do you know? Is there?
The fourth week of January.
There is the fourth week. That would be the 26th then on a Saturday, or
hang on.
That would be the fourth. That's the fourth Saturday of the month.
The fourth Saturday of the month will always be Eggs and Issues. What'd you say? The fourth Saturday.
26th of January is the
Eggs
fourth
and
Saturday.
Issue, Fort Dodge ICCC.
I'm subscribing to Tim Kreinbrink's newsletter, and I'll get yours. We talked before you went on the air, and you told me you really hadn't sent out
Yeah, we haven't. We will send out a newsletter. It'll come out next Thursday.
Okay.
So we gavel in on Monday. Becky and I are going down tomorrow, taking 2 loads of stuff down, moving in tomorrow to my basement apartment, and then
you have a basement apartment?
Yeah, in my cousin's house.
Really?
Yep. They offered, and I accepted. The price was right.
So you're staying there for nothing, or what?
A little more than nothing.
A little more than nothing.
But it's they're really good people, and they said that if you want to stay here, it's a half finished basement. It's got a bed, and you don't really. It's kind of you don't need a lot.
I suppose not. The worst thing you can do is rack up a lot of expenses when you're down there.
You have Mike Sexton's schedule is, I'm at the Capitol almost. I get up at 5. I'm at the Capitol by between 6 and 6:30. Get a lot of work done before 8:30. We gavel at 8:30, and then the legislative day starts. And the legislative day is done at 3:30 to 5, and then there's 2 or 3 receptions every night. The receptions are usually done by 8:30. You go home, put your pajamas on, watch TV, fall asleep in the chair, and
there you go.
And then you start again the next day.
You get some sort of food allowance when you're down there, don't you?
You get a per diem,
and that is
$165.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, we get $165 a day for the. So it's a 2-year cycle.
Yeah.
And this is the first year of the 2 years. The first year is 110 days. The second year is 100. And so, so then we get that money. You get your salary. So,
and you get the per diem. Now, what's the per diem cover? Is it just the food, or
your whatever you want it to be? Per diem is you can, some legislators stay in hotels. Some will rent an apartment. Some will stay with family. You do whatever. You do whatever you want, but you get that check twice a month, to pay your bills, and if you're living very conservatively, like I'm going to live, then you don't have to spend too much money.
So Kreinbrink then, because of his wealth, stays at the Taj Mahal down in Des Moines, I suppose.
Kreinbrink, because of his wealth, he just bought a condo.
He just bought a condo,
and he
doesn't screw around.
He doesn't screw around. He bought a condo, and then when he bought it, I thought, well, he'd probably ask his buddy Mike Sexton to live with him, but
not a chance.
I'm still waiting. I haven't.
Not a chance.
The offers never came.
God, who's his accountant writing that off, for God's sake? Yeah. By the way, we just got a text here from Mr. Ann Meyer. There will be no Eggs and Issues in January as Jill Nilsson of the Growth Alliance is on maternity leave. The first one will be the 23rd of February.
Oh.
I didn't know we needed Jill. God knows I like Jill Nelson. She's a wonderful.
Well, I
person.
do too. Where's our former senator? He can run the show.
Kirsten, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Why? I don't like that. I kind of feel
I
bad
don't
about
like
that.
it either. I don't think any of
Because
the voters
I like being able to come over here and let people, especially early in the session, because
Right.
people can let you know what they think about issues. So,
Well, why don't you and
so-
I take it upon ourselves to get an eggs and issues going?
well,
We can
don't,
put the-
don't you have Kirsten on still once
We
a
have,
week?
yeah. I have Kirsten on. I
Well,
can
then
get him
you
to do something.
Just tell him Representative Sexton's not very happy.
Yeah, well, that'll do it.
Yeah, that should
You know,
do it.
we can talk with Denny Plotz or somebody over the growth.
There's
Alliance.
no reason. There's no reason we can't have. I mean, Jill does a lot and she makes it work, but all we need is Oh yeah, I got the same thing.
Yeah, I figured you probably would.
Um,
He's dinging you pretty good over there, buddy.
That's a different one there.
Oh, that's a different one. Okay. It's Kirsten saying, "Don't get anything started."
Yeah, Becky. People are even texting Becky and telling her to tell me there's no eggs and issues.
Oh, is that right?
So but there. I don't know. We need to look into that because that's too bad. That's a good way for citizens to reach out to legislators, and especially, like I said, early in the season, early in the legislative session, to let us know what they think. So I introduced, or I didn't introduce, but I sent to drafting a bill to get rid of daylight savings time.
Good for you. What a waste that is.
So that will be coming out, sponsored by in fact, I've got a lot of legislators. I think I've said this before that want to sign on. So there'll be a lot of co-sponsors. So
and there's going to be a few people that will get up on the floor and fight it in the name of tradition or some silly thing. And
it's just, but you know what, Mike, that is a truly nonpartisan issue. It is and when I ran it 2 years ago, there was a broad base of support, but I think it's such an easy bill to understand that people, there's no gray in it. You either are going to change your clocks back and forth twice a year, or you're just going to get rid of it. And so my bill actually says if we could get it passed after we turn the clocks forward in the summer to daylight savings time, then we would just stay on that forever.
Here's good news. While you were talking, I texted Jim Kirsten. He texted me back, "Sure, I'll call you and we'll put it together or try to work on it anyway."
See, that there's no reason we can't have it.
Well, no, there isn't. Again, Jill, I no doubt does a lot.
No, she does a lot. I know that, and thank you, Jill, for all the work you do. But
absolutely,
boy, I would think a few people could step up and we could have an eggs and issues.
Well, Jim's always a moderator, isn't he? He's probably a good choice.
Well, yeah, he's a good moderator. But so on January 24th, when we have eggs and issues, you and I can stand up and say, well, because of
our efforts,
Divine and Sexton's efforts, that is why we are here today.
Well, people will just give you the credit because you're scrappy. You're scrappy. That's right. I'm laid back, man. I'm laid back. I'm too cool.
So I also found out this week, we're going to have a gambling bill this year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the biggest gambling bills we've ever had in the state since we started gambling. And so I'm going to be on that subcommittee. So that's exciting.
What sort of gambling? Why do we need a gambling bill?
Sports gambling to allow sports gambling in the state of Iowa. And I was approached by the Harness Racing Association in Humboldt. It's big. I don't know if people realize how big a business.
What's going on over there? Now, come on, stay on the air. Don't get lost in your phone, Bemrick. That's Matt's over there on his phone all the time when he's in here.
I don't want to be like him.
Oh, but come on, man. He's a great guy.
But anyway, that's a big business in Humboldt, and in Humboldt the city and Humboldt the county.
What is a big business? Harness racing?
Yes, it is huge. And so anyway, their concern is that once we open, you've heard me talk a lot of times. The reason we have such a problem working on the matrix is we don't want to open up, chapter 459 of the Iowa Code, because then you never know what's going to happen. You can get
chapter 459 of the Iowa
That's the
Code.
livestock. That's the livestock.
Oh, okay.
And that's where the matrix is. That's where that's at. And so when you open up the code, there's always a potential that bad things happen, and we could, the worst case scenario is you could open up 459 and you'd end up with a moratorium on livestock buildings in the state of Iowa. That's worst case. So the harness racing folks are worried when we go into this gambling bill, when we get into that section of the code, that they could receive a lot of damage too. And so, they get a piece of the purse, and a piece of the gambling.
Sure.
And so it's not hard to think that there's other groups that, well, maybe if we open that up, we could get a piece of that. And the harness racers don't need any of that. And,
right.
And so that's
because somebody always wants.
So yeah,
somebody's got their hand out all the
somebody
time.
always wants something that somebody else has, and
Right.
so I'm going to be on that subcommittee, and so that'll be exciting.
Now you
So-
said chapter 459, and the other chapter is what?
well, chapter 459 is the Iowa Code chapter for the livestock
Right.
section.
I'm calling the whole thing up right now. in
Yeah,
PDF.
so that's I was just using that as example.
Oh, okay.
I can't. I don't know what chapter the gambling bill is.
Okay.
But I will when we get into it. So.
Well,
So-
I really some of these laws, gambling back in the 1930s and 40s was seen as the equivalent of heroin use. It was a grave sin. But my God, we got casinos all over the place now.
I know.
Gambling is not seen in the same light that it
No,
was.
it's a form of recreation for a
Form of
lot-
recreation.
like for older people that go in and they can be in there all day long. Folks like you,
That's
your
right.
age, and they're in, and they can
Yes,
be,
my
they
age.
can be in there playing those nickel or penny slot, and they'll play all day and not lose $5.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
I've seen it.
It's something to do, and it's fun for them to do. It's not, they're not losing $1,000 a day.
You know who you find when you go into casinos? Retired ladies.
Yeah.
They go in groups. I
They-
swear to God.
they
They
do.
all get together, 4 or 5 of them in the car, and go to the casino, and they're there all afternoon.
Yep. Well, they
It's
have
fun for
they
'em.
go there and have lunch.
Yes, they do.
And then they gamble, and then they go home and have happy hour.
Yeah.
But so it's so back to sports betting. It's happening right now, Mike. We can put our head in the sand and say, "Oh, we don't want that in the state of Iowa." Well, it's already happening. So we might as well legalize it, get our hands around it. Keep minors from doing it, and make sure we get some laws and get some protections put in there. And I mean, it'll be interesting because there's, I guess I support that. I don't know that I support having another casino in the state of Iowa. I think we have so many now that they can't function.
Oh, I
And
don't.
so-
I'm not with you on that. I know that there's so much money in casino gambling now. We'll never get that changed. But I don't know why we can't have a free market as far as casinos are concerned. I just don't get that. I know the ministers got all upset before we got casinos because we had some of the convenience stores and bars had little gambling machines. They were everywhere, and we didn't want that. I guess it didn't bother me at all. I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know what the big deal is about gambling, period. I mean, if people want to gamble, let them gamble, for God's sake.
Yeah,
it's not drugs. It's not immorality, to my mind. I know some members of the Presbyterian Church went crazy here a few years ago when we were about 10 years ago, or more than that now, when we were going to get a casino here in Fort Dodge. They really killed it. And boy, I'll tell you, I've talked with some of the people who are on that committee, and a lot of people were mad at them for killing the Fort Dodge Casino. A lot of people. And heck, they built one in Emmitsburg, then they built one in Jefferson. So
yeah,
geez.
both sides.
Both sides, and you can, you can go over to Waterloo. Waterloo's got a casino, and of course Des Moines. But that's just something that's a big deal in Iowa that I just don't get. Leave people. My attitude is always leave people alone. Just leave people the hell alone.
That's your little piece of libertarian that pops out of you
every now and then,
every
isn't
now
it?
and then that pops out
Well,
of
don't you agree with that?
when you're not wanting to raise the minimum wage?
No, I would raise the minimum wage. I just get rid of the right to work law. I just get rid of that for you there, Scrapture. I'd handle that for you right there. Anyway, Mike Sexton's our guest today, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. You have a question or comment, or Representative Sexton, 515-955-1400. I think the supervisors are going to make another statement as far as animal confinements, CAFOs, And I believe the last time I talked to you, you said there's going to be no movement on CAFOs this year. None.
I don't think so. I don't really foresee any of it. I know the supervisors always say that, and then they tell people they've sent a letter to the legislators. I've never got one yet. I've never received a letter from the supervisors.
Really? Well, who are they sending the letters to?
I don't know who they're sending. Maybe they're sending it to Brink, and they figure that's good enough. But
could be.
But I've never. I don't think I've ever got one from the Webster County.
You're a little more direct than Tim is, you know.
That in which, you know what, people know where I'm at. I'm okay.
Yeah, they do.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people there. You know, they know where Mike Sexton stands on almost all the issues.
That's right. You know, and Tim is more, you know, always looking to keep dialogue going and you know, all that crap. Mike Sexton's our guest.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
Assistant Majority Leader of the Iowa House of Representatives, Mike Sexton, and some really unimportant guys
that are stupid
on AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, Hip Hop Array, it's Friday. Y'all, that love and tolerance stuff is getting on my nerves. AM 1400 KVFD will be back.
There's a new Merle Norman studio that's now open for beauty. Visit us today at Mary Kay's Gifts and Home Decor, where you'll find all of your beauty needs under one roof. 'Tis the season to be glam at Merle Norman. Not sure what she wants? How about a Merle Norman gift certificate? Let her choose from innovative skincare products, on-trend color cosmetics, and more. Give her everything she wants and needs. Stop by today for the perfect gift for mom and your bestie. Merle Norman, located at Mary Kay's Gifts and Home Decor, 1108 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. 3 men arrested in Kossuth County in the past week faced third-degree kidnapping charges for allegedly trying to prevent a person from providing information to authorities. Radio Iowa's Brian Wilson reports.
Criminal complaints filed on December 31st state that the alleged victim got into a car with Joshua James Smith and Austin Allen Hammond in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2017, and taken to a rural area of northwest Kossuth County and assaulted. Afterwards, the alleged victim stated that he wanted to go home and instead was taken to the Goose Lake Wildlife Area in far northern Kossuth County and assaulted once again. It is alleged that Christian Daniel Whitesell was present at Goose Lake and allowed for the victim to be assaulted for a second time. Now, Hammond was arrested on January 4th by the Algona Police Department. Smith and Whitesell were taken into custody by the Kossuth County Sheriff's Department on January 7th. The charge of third-degree kidnapping is a Class C felony. Hammond is scheduled to have a preliminary hearing in Kossuth County Court on January 15th, while Smith and Whitesell are scheduled to appear on January 18th. Reporting from Algona, Brian Wilson for Radio Iowa.
Iowa Congressman Steve King tweeted this morning that if President Trump declares a state of emergency for border security, Trump should build the whole wall out of concrete. Radio Iowa's OK Henderson reports.
Congressman King said a concrete wall along the U.S.-Mexico border would stand forever as a monument to the rule of law. King went on the House floor early in his congressional career with his own model for a fence and a wall along the southern border. King's model called for precast concrete panels 10 feet wide and 13 feet high. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
Much of the southern third to half of Iowa should be buried under snow by Saturday afternoon. Alan Curtis, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service office in Johnston, says the snow is expected to start falling by late this afternoon.
We're not looking at extreme totals by any stretch, but totals could range from as much as about 4 to 6 inches down to the south and towards the Missouri border, and then more towards the 1 to 3, 2 to 3 inch range as we get towards I-80 and just north of there.
A winter weather advisory is posted for an area along and south of Interstate 80. Once the snow tapers off on Saturday, mild conditions are expected through the weekend with highs mainly in the 30s to low 40s. In local sports, number 6 Fort Dodge Wrestling defeated number 3 Waukee last night at the Fort Dodge Senior High Gym by a score of 33-25. Picking up wins for the Dodgers were Drake Ayala, Carson Taylor, Brooks and Lane Cowell, Drazon Phillips, Dravon Ross, Savion Wheat, and Tristan Licht. The Dodgers will be on the road in Illinois this weekend. It's rivalry night for Fort Dodge basketball as the Dodgers host Mason City. Girls game is at 6:15 with the boys, following at 7:45 on 92.1 The Eagle. St. Edmund is at Iowa Falls Alden with the girls starting at 6:15 and the boys at 7:45 on Sunny 99.7. South Central Calhoun is at Alta with radio coverage on 105.9 The Beach at 6 p.m. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 337. Representative Mike Sexton's here. We'll get back to the representative in just a couple of minutes. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Fidler Severs Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Fidler Severs Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfidlerseversfuneralhome.com. Sorry to say, Bob Sullivan has died. Bob died at the age of 91. His service is tomorrow morning at Loftus Fidler Severs Funeral Home at 10 o'clock, then at 10:30 at Corpus Christi Catholic Church. Ashley Ulrich has died at the age of 34. There will be a celebration of Ashley's life Sunday at the VFW Post here in town. Mary Patricia Turner has died at the age of 58. There will be a celebration of the life of Mary Patricia Turner, who died at the age of 58. That's going to happen Saturday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, from 1 to 3 at Loftus Fidler Severs Funeral Home. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Fidler Severs Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Fidler Severs Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfidlerseversfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. In the weather forecast, cloudy for what remains of this afternoon. Maybe 35 for a high, but it better get going. It's 33 right now. Snow and freezing rain starting in the evening and overnight. Our overnight low will be 26 degrees. Tomorrow, patchy snow, freezing drizzle. Kind of a bad day tomorrow. On Sunday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 34. Monday, sunny with a high of 38. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 38. On Wednesday, partly sunny, high 28. And on Thursday, sunny with a high of 32. Really not bad as we head into the third week of January. Right now, 33 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn up 2 cents at 3.78 1/4. May up 2 1/4 at 3.86 3/4. July corn closed up 2 cents at 3.94 1/4. September up 2 1/4 at 3.97 1/4. In the soybeans, January up 3 3/4 at 8.99 1/4. March up 3 1/2 at 9.10 1/4. May beans up 3 cents at 9.23 3/4. July up 4 cents at 9.36 1/4. March wheat closed up 5 3/4 at 5.19 1/2. Soybean meal down 2.20 a ton at 3.10.40. February live cattle up a dime at 124.97. April up 45 cents at 126.37. January feeder cattle down 62 cents at 146.12. March down 17 at 144.90. February lean hogs down 142 at 62.65. April down 50 cents to 67.35. I'm Dwayne Murley.
First State Bank, first for you.
First State Bank and its ag lenders are first for you. They have the desire to work with you and the authority to make their decisions locally. They strive to be your #1 financial institution leader. Stop in or give Jennifer Hansen, Rob Dickey, or Josh Kibbe in Humboldt a call to see how they can help you grow. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
First State Bank, first for you.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
Please be done.
over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm Tiffany Haddish, and I use Groupon so much, they made me the spokesperson. Using Groupon is easy. Just save with the Groupon app on your phone. There's nothing to print out, which is great because I'm the type that if I can save on it, I'll do it. Paint class? Yes. French cooking class? Oui, oui. Brazilian steakhouse? Let's get the meat sweats. Hot yoga? Love it. The only thing I won't do is pay full price for what I do every day. Download the app and save. Groupon.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
I accept this gavel in the spirit of partnership, not partisanship. It's an historic moment for the Congress. It's an historic moment for the women of America.
Assistant Majority Leader of the Iowa House of Representatives, Mike Sexton, and some really unimportant guys.
That are stupid.
On AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, you heard it. Nancy Pelosi wants partnership, not partisanship. That's from 2007. If you believe that, I'm going to sell you this building. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Our guest, Representative Mike Sexton. He's also the Assistant Majority Leader for our part of the state. Did I ask you, Feenstra, Randy Feenstra, State Senator Feenstra, is the Majority Leader, the Assistant Majority Leader for the Senate, right?
There's 5 of them in the Senate, I think.
5 of them in the Senate.
I think so.
And there's 4 in the House, right? You're one of the 4.
Yeah, exactly.
And 5 in the Senate. I wonder what that is.
I don't know.
I mean, there's more representatives than there are senators.
Exactly.
Who knows?
Yeah, it seemed like I read that somewhere. I don't know why. Somewhere I read there was 5 assistant leaders in the Senate.
Well, let's talk for just a minute about the power of radio. Mike and I we were complaining about no exit issues on January the 26th. And we got a hold of Jim Kirsten, who, of course, has been the moderator. And he's a great moderator. He'd be a lot better than me. I'd start getting in fights with the audience, I suppose. So it'd be just as well if I stayed in the back of the room where I usually am. But anyway, we got a hold of Jim Kirsten, and he says, well, yeah, I'll try to put it together. And he sits on the board, and he's going to make a call on me. He said he would try to call us as soon as he could to let us know that there will, in fact, be an exit issue. So hang on for that. It's not a done deal yet. We're waiting to hear from Jim on that. Anyway, so now you've been down to Des Moines, but you haven't been in session yet.
Nope. We start on Monday.
Monday.
We get sworn in, gavel in on Monday, and then go to work. So, and I've been down a little bit, but a lot of on phone meetings, talking to our chair of our committees, and I'm especially talking to Representative Bobby Kaufman, who is chair of state government now. And so he's asked, that's where the gambling bill will come out. He asked me if I'd serve on that subcommittee. I said I would. We're also going to have another big election bill again this year. And he said, I want you to think about running that election bill, which kind of scares me because that's just a nasty fight on the House floor.
Is this the one where we're going to elect judges or something, or what is?
No, that's something different. How we do the judges, and I don't know a lot about that bill yet, Mike. But I'm not exact. That probably will come through judiciary, I bet.
Well, I don't think the issue of electing judges is on the table. But they right now, I think there's 8 lawyers and 8 other people, and they want to reduce the number. Some want to reduce the number of lawyers, which I always think is a good idea.
Well, I think what's on the table is how we get the judges, how we pick the judges. I think what I have heard is that the list of judges, by the time they get to the governor, is not a very good list. Now, Janine probably argue, the lawyers will probably argue, but they're not, in my opinion, what would be fair is that when that list gets to the governor, she could pick there ought to be a liberal judge, there ought to be a conservative judge. She ought to be able to choose who she wants. But what I understand, and I could be all wrong, Mike, and the folks out there, if I am, I apologize. But what I understand is that by the time that list gets to the governor, there's not any conservatives on it, and it's not a very good list.
No, we don't want that.
Well, yeah, we don't want that. We want it to with the governor to be able to choose who's best. I think that's what's driving this is the ability for the governor to have a better list of people to choose from for judges.
Well, I think Janice Valentine's the greatest, and Jerry Schnur is on this program every Monday, and he's a great, great guy and very thoughtful. And, Nevin Mulholland comes in, and they all are in agreement that the system should not be changed as far as electing judges. I just think it's too important to be left to a bunch of attorneys or the type of process even that you're describing. I'm fully in favor of direct elections judges. I mean, these are people with tremendous authority over our lives, and they're completely unaccountable. I just don't believe that's democracy.
They should. Well, and that's the problem, Mike. Should they have that much ability to drive legislation? I mean, they almost can put legislation forward themselves.
Yes, they do.
And that's not right. That shouldn't be happening.
Well, they have something called the judicial conference, where it seems like in this judicial conference, for God's sake, they're actually deciding which direction the law is going to go, whether we like it or not.
Exactly.
No, this has been 10 years ago or so, but some guys I know, well, Menke's one of them. They had, he was not Chief Justice at the time, but they had Justice Mark Cady speak at the Sertoma Club. And then Justice Cady was very passionate about the court system being the driver of social change, positive social change. And I knew right then and there that gay marriage was just percolating up at that time. I knew right then and there, as soon as they started talking to me about that we were going to have gay marriage in Iowa. And we did. And the primary author of the legislation was Mark Cady. I mean, that you can feel how you want to. Our society has changed and we've accepted gay relationships, and I'm fine. But a court should not have that authority. I have never said that. I have never believed that at all. It's like the abortion issue. I think we had 29 states that had legalized abortion when the Supreme Court got involved. And ever since the Supreme Court got involved, we've had nothing but trouble because the court was arrogant, I feel. Yeah. Anyway, I'm on my soapbox again. I'm sorry,
We
Mike.
just keep chiseling. Well, no, we just keep chiseling away at states' rights.
We do.
That's what happens. We're
chiseling away at states' rights, and the will of the people is practically dismissed. I just shouldn't say practically, is dismissed.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
Well, so and then also now for a sidebar, one of the first things that's going to happen, we still have a contested election in Northeast.
Oh, that's right.
And so now I guess what's going to happen is when we get down there, we're going to have 2 or 3 public meetings for people to come in, and the speaker has put together a committee, and the committee will listen to folks.
Stand by just a minute, Mike. I want to get back to that, but let's go to the phones. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Yeah, it's Jim Person. How are
Hey,
you guys?
Jim. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Hey, I listened to you guys earlier, and you're kind of wondering why we weren't going to have eggs and issues in January. And earlier in December, I think the committee of the Growth Alliance met and thought, well, maybe that's it's too soon after the session starts. But after listening to you, I checked, and we can have eggs and issues on the fourth Saturday, starting at 8:30 like we do normally, and ending at 10.
So we are going to do it?
Yes, we will do eggs and issues in January, and then on it'll be the fourth Saturday of each month going forward.
Well, that's great. The representative and I were just talking, and they'll have a couple of weeks under their belt by the time the 24th rolls around, or 26, excuse me. So we should have one, and I really appreciate you moving on that, Jim.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, no,
Thanks,
I
Jim.
wanted to get it to you guys today because I want to be able to send the notices out to all the other members, because right now it's not on their calendar.
Even though it is pretty early, I mean, that it still gives us time to be able to have bills drafted, as you understand, Jim. If people, and that's why I like it when it's early, because, people will be able to say, why don't you guys try to change this or do that? Well, if we wait to where it gets too close to the funnel, then our hands our hands are tied. So
I love it. I
was
was trying to push for it earlier, but the others, thought, well, we should have probably polled you guys. We should have asked you. But anyway, going forward, we will have it, and then we'll have it the fourth Saturday of each month, and we'll send notices to the paper and the media to let them know.
Sounds good.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Yep. Take care.
All right. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Boy, I'll tell you, we get together on the radio, Mike, and things happen.
30 rounds of freedom.
60.
Oh, 60
rounds of freedom.
I was cutting it short.
Anyway, you were talking about the special election in Northeast Iowa. What district is this now?
Oh, boy. I don't know. It's Mike representing Bergen's district up there. I'm not sure what the district is, but
9 votes are separating the two or something.
What is it?
9.
Is
I
it
believe.
9?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was 9 or 23, but so here, so finally, it takes so long to understand what's going on. Now I think I understand is that the code of Iowa and the rules say a postmark, but a lot of post offices now use that barcode. And so the barcode is a modern postmark, because when you run it through a computer, it knows when it was stamped. And so, but the code doesn't allow, the rules don't allow for a barcode. And so therein lies the problem. And so I guess we're going to have a couple days of hearings, and then that's going to be a vote on the House floor, whether we count those votes or we don't count those votes. I'm not exactly sure, but it's already a hot button with the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats are all upset about it. So
they just can't accept that they're in the minority.
So no, that's
they
true.
think the majority of the people agree with them, and that every race has got to be contested because those sneaky Republicans are depriving them of their justified majority. In this state, the liberals and the Democrats are not in the majority. Johnson County, maybe. Polk County, certainly, but not in the rest of this state.
No, I understand.
Not in the rest of this state. All right, let's go to the phones. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
I'm just curious, have them votes even been opened, or are they still sealed?
They're still sealed. Yep.
Wouldn't it make it easier just to open them and do a tally? Then it wouldn't even matter.
Well, and that's there's what a lot, half, I think the half the people think maybe that is what we should do. We should just count those votes and see where it falls, and then change the law so that because we should accept that barcode. That's how the post office marks their envelopes now. So I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe we ought to just, I think we're at 54. The Republicans are at 54, and if we count the votes and we lose that, well, then we're at 53, and the Democrats are at 47. But my reason for the story was, usually when you first get down there, there's a bit of little tiny bit of love and honeymoon after the election. I think because of this issue, the very first day we're going to start fighting.
Going to be brawling,
and we will be fighting for 110 days.
That's fine. That's fine.
So,
they want to fight. Let's fight. I was upset by what was happening in my country for a long time. I didn't think all the hatred that was coming out of, some people who said that they were liberals and tolerant people. I didn't think that. I thought that would calm down. I thought they would get a hold of themselves. They haven't. They're justified in their hatred. They're justified in their screaming and sometimes ugly tactics. So let's get it on now.
Yeah. Well, and I've had a person talk to me yesterday that said, why are you guys so divided? Why are the Republicans and the Democrats so divided at the Capitol, and why can't you get along? And I said, take a look at the United States.
Oh yeah.
Look, I mean,
it's worse than most other places.
Yeah, I mean, we are divided. The country is divided. And so to think that the legislature isn't going to be representative of our districts and how the country lays out and how our state lays out, that's just the way it's going to be. I hate to be doom and gloom, but I'll do whatever I can. I've done a lot of compromise, and I've worked on a lot of bills. My truck wash bill, there was a huge amount of compromise in that. And
why was that so difficult?
Well, because it was in the livestock section, Mike, and it just, it's just the way it lays out, and people want to get, when you get into those sections, there's people that want to get things when you're in there. And
when you open it up,
they want to get something. Well, everybody can't get something, because then it ruins the bill.
Yeah.
So, I'm all for compromise, and I'll do whatever I can to do what's best for for House District 10 in the state of Iowa, but sometimes you just have to fight for what you know is right.
That's right. You
And
do
that's
have
just-
to fight
and,
with
and people will accuse you of, oh, Sexton, you're not compromising. Well, probably not, because I'm going to fight for what I know is right.
That's
And I
right.
know it's right in my heart. So
That's right. And if that's not the way if that's not the way you would approach it, and let me speak in broader terms, if that's not the way anybody approaches it, they shouldn't be in the House or the Senate, either one. I
That's
don't think.
right.
I mean, if they're there just as a vessel for their interest groups, and I understand everybody has interest groups, but if they're just for a vessel for their interest groups, they shouldn't be there. I think that's shallow. I think it's just shallow. Anyway, AM 1400 KVFT, the voice of Fort Dodge, Representative Mike Sexton is here. If you have a question, you better hurry because we're running out of time. So can I count on you to meet you in Des Moines on
Yep.
Tuesday? And
yep.
I got my press credential. It was a little bit easier than I thought. I got a hold of this guy down there, and he said, okay, fill out this form. And he sent me the form, and I filled it out, and he got a hold of me and said, okay, you got it. And I said, well, don't I need some sort of lanyard or something? He said,
Badger.
yeah. And he said, no, but if you have a station identification type thing on you somewhere, bring that, and that'll get you right in. And I do have that. And frankly, it's a lanyard.
Yeah.
AM 1400
that's
KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Representative Sexton.
Yeah, I was going to say the only way the Democrats will compromise is if the Republicans cave in to them.
Well, they really think that the Republican. I mean, you should hear the way they talk. I mean, the Republicans are a mortal threat to civilization. I mean, they are. I really do believe there's such a thing as Trump derangement syndrome. I've known some people. I have friends, and I've actually lost friends, not because I'm a white guy, not because I'm a conservative or a Catholic or any of those things, because I occasionally say you guys are crazy, and they insist that I think the way they do about Trump, or I'm some sort of traitor to the country. It's just unbelievable. And I've known some of these folks again all my life. They've never been this unreasonable, ever. And there just seems to be some sort of mass craziness that's taken over.
And I think you're right, caller. And the bad part, and so this has happened to me at least twice in my legislative career, where I have compromised on a bill, and with a mutual agreement that on another bill that we're working on, that the Democrats would give in. If I gave in on this bill and moved a little bit to the left, to get it to move forward, that they would come a little bit to the right on the other bill. And we moved the first bill, and then they disappeared, and I was left holding the bag. That's happened to me twice.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, caller. And thank you, Mike Sexton. We'll see you down in Des Moines on Tuesday. Thanks a lot, Mike. 4:00 in the afternoon. You're listening to AM 1400 KVFT, the voice of Fort Dodge. Fox News is next.
No emergency declared today. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. President Trump taking a step back from his recent threats over the fight for border wall funding, though he still isn't ruling it out. Fox's John Decker is live at the White House.
The president telling state, local, and community leaders that he will hold off in declaring a national emergency in order to secure border wall funding, saying Congress should provide the money and acknowledging that such a declaration would be immediately challenged.
I'll be sued. It'll be brought to the Ninth Circuit. And maybe even though the wording is unambiguous, just like with the travel ban, it'll be appealed to the Ninth Circuit, and we'll probably lose there too.
Republican lawmakers are divided over whether the president should declare a national emergency. Lisa?
Thanks, Sean. Meantime, Congress wrapping up its work for the week. So this partial government shutdown is now set to become the longest ever as of tomorrow, which will be day 22. Elation in a Wisconsin community that never stopped hoping and praying for Jamie Kloss, the 13-year-old girl found alive after escaping from the man accused of killing her parents to kidnap her nearly 3 months ago.
We want to thank Jamie for being so courageous and for achieving an opportunity to find her way back to us.
Majority Leader
What an
Hey, I'm
extraordinary
1400.
young lady.
That's the Barron County
Not
school
partisan.
superintendent, part of an emotional news conference earlier today. The suspect, 21-year-old Jake Patterson, is in custody. Sheriff's officials say he had no
Thanks a
criminal
lot, Mike.
history
4
in
o'clock in the
Wisconsin. And so far, there's no evidence of any contact before the killings, including on social media, with Jamie or the family. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield. Another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg will miss a second week of oral arguments as she continues to recover from surgery. Fox's David Spunt in Washington.
A Supreme Court spokeswoman put out a statement that says the justice will be out again next week working from home as she continues to recover. Now, on December 21st, the day the government shut down, news came out that 85-year-old Ginsburg had early-stage lung cancer surgery.
Doctors still say there's no evidence of any remaining disease and that no further treatment is required. Ginsburg's recovery described as being on track. The General Motors CEO again defending the company's long-term game plan, which includes several plant closings and thousands of job cuts in the U.S. and Canada.
Our plan right now is to really work to make sure that each team member, especially those that are part of our hourly team, have know what's going to happen and have options.
CEO Mary Barra says transformation is underway as the company deals with the shift in demand from sedans to crossovers. The nation's largest automaker with better earnings for 2018 than expected. It's one of those songs you can't get out of your head. And even though it's supposed to be for kids, it's now a top 40 hit.
The catchy kid song, Baby Shark, making a splash yet again, becoming one of the only children's songs to land on the Billboard Hot 100. The nursery rhyme comes in at number 32 on the list. It kicked off a dance challenge after South Korea-based educational brand Pinkfong debuted its version, encouraging kids and their parents to act out each verse. The viral hit has been viewed over 2.1 billion times on YouTube, making it among the 30 most viewed videos ever. It currently places second on Billboard's Kid Digital Song Sales.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. On Wall Street, the Dow, the S&P, and the NASDAQ all finishing slightly lower today, but higher for the week. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. 3 men arrested in Kossuth County in the past week faced third-degree kidnapping charges for allegedly trying to prevent a person from providing information to authorities. Radio Iowa's Brian Wilson reports.
Criminal complaints filed on December 31st state that the alleged victim got into a car with Joshua James Smith and Austin Allen Hammond in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2017, and taken to a rural area of northwest Kossuth County and assaulted. Now, afterwards, the alleged victim stated that he wanted to go home and instead was taken to the Goose Lake Wildlife Area in far northern Kossuth County and assaulted once again. It is alleged that Christian Daniel Whitesell was present at Goose Lake and allowed for the victim to be assaulted for a second time. Now, Hammond was arrested on January 4th by the Algona Police Department. Smith and Whitesell were taken into custody by the Kossuth County Sheriff's Department on January 7th. The charge of third-degree kidnapping is a Class C felony. Hammond is scheduled to have a preliminary hearing in Kossuth County Court on January 15th, while Smith and Whitesell are scheduled to appear on January 18th. Reporting from Algona, Brian Wilson for Radio Iowa.
Iowa Congressman Steve King tweeted this morning that if President Trump declares a state of emergency for border security, Trump should build the whole wall out of concrete. Radio Iowa's OK Henderson reports.
Congressman King said a concrete wall along the U.S.-Mexico border would stand forever as a monument to the rule of law. King went on the House floor early in his congressional career with his own model for a fence and a wall along the southern border. King's model called for precast concrete panels 10 feet wide and 13 feet high. Radio Iowa, I'm OK Henderson.
Much of the southern third half of Iowa should be buried under snow by Saturday afternoon. Alan Curtis, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service office in Johnston, says the snow is expected to start falling by late this afternoon.
We're not looking at extreme totals by any stretch, but totals could range from as much as about 4 to 6 inches down to the south and towards the Missouri border, and then more towards the 1 to 3, 2 to 3 inch range as we get towards I-80 and just north of there.
A winter weather advisory is posted for an area along and south of Interstate 80. Once the snow tapers off on Saturday, mild conditions are expected through the weekend with highs mainly in the 30s to low 40s. In local sports, number 6 Fort Dodge Wrestling defeated number 3 Waukee last night at the Fort Dodge Senior High Gym by a score of 33-25. Picking up wins for the Dodgers were Drake Ayala, Carson Taylor, Brooks and Lane Cowell, Drazon Phillips, Dravon Ross, Savion Wheat, and Tristan Licht. The Dodgers will be on the road in Illinois this weekend. It's rivalry night for Fort Dodge basketball as the Dodgers host Mason City. Girls game is at 6:15 with the boys following at 7:45 on 92.1 The Eagle. St. Edmund is at Iowa Falls Alden with the girls starting at 6:15 and the boys at 7:45 on Sunny 99.7. South Central Calhoun is at Alta with radio coverage on 105.9 The Beach at 6 p.m. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. High of 35 this afternoon under overcast skies, winds out of the southeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies. Tonight, chance of snow, lows around 25. Chance of snow again tomorrow, high of 32, cloudy. Temperatures a bit above average Sunday and Monday with highs from the mid-30s to the upper 30s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 33.
Hi, this is Anna Smith, your bilingual real estate agent with Neighborhood Realty. Did you know the average person moves 5 times over their lifetime? If it's moving time for you, Neighborhood Realty is ready to help sell your home quickly and professionally. We know the area, the market, and we have a growing number of agents working as a team to get your home sold. But that isn't what's most important. At Neighborhood Realty, we'll list it, we'll sell it, and you'll move on. Para vender o comprar su casa, llame al 515-576-2102 or visit us at neighborhood-realty.net.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Ideal Designer Series garage doors give your home a beautiful look to enhance your curb appeal. Get a 9x7 walnut finish Designer Series garage door with windows for only $648.81 after sale price and 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through January 12th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Yeah, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, it's a great Friday. Every Friday is great because we get to talk with either Representative Section or Senator Kreinbrink. Then we get to talk sports, and today we're talking sports with Randy Kreinbrink, who knows a little bit about sports. So how you doing there, Randy?
I'm not related to Tim Kreinbrink. you said Randy Kreinbrink.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
There actually is a Randy Kreinbrink.
Yeah, there is. He was a darn good basketball player.
Real good basketball player. And
that's not me, though.
Yeah, he's Tim's. I keep forgetting. I think he's Tim's younger brother. Lives over in Cedar Falls. I think. Yeah.
I
said Randy. Well, I screw up every now and then. I got to admit. Randy Kuhlman, ladies and gentlemen, is here. Not that Kreinbrink guy. Randy played in the early '90s. I think he played ball in the early '90s.
I can't.
Late '80s.
It might have been earlier than that. Yeah, he had a good career at UNI and I think he made his home there after he graduated. It's done very well over there.
It was basketball and something else for him. I don't know if Paulina, where he was from, where the Kreinbrinks are from, I don't know if they had a football team up there.
I think they did because Tim played football.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. So I'm sure they played football.
And Tim is late 50s. So, okay, yeah. So Randy would have probably been late 80s in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tim would have
Good
been early.
athletic family.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Well, look at the size of Tim. I mean,
Yeah.
he would have been a bigger kid in the conference, I'll tell you, back in those days.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk a little sports. I couldn't, there's a lot happening in football. Of course, we're going to talk about the Clemson game. It's kind of been talked to death by the time we get to talk about it. But, man, that was just an outstanding performance by that Clemson quarterback, Lawrence. But, of course, we're right in the middle of the NFL playoff season. Boy, I hated to see this. The Bears hosed themselves so bad. I mean, they line up for a game-winning field goal. The guy kicks it right through the uprights, and they had called time. Philadelphia had called time.
Yep.
So they had to kick it again, and he hits the upright, and the Bears lose the game.
Yeah.
God.
That same kicker earlier in the season had a game where he hit the upright 4 times in one game.
Did he really?
Yeah. But later they actually reviewed that over and over again. The NFL that ball was actually tipped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did hear that.
And
somebody tipped it. Yeah.
So that may have thrown it offline as well. But
if
either
you got
way,
a hand on it, yeah.
Either way, they got beat, and I'm a big Bears fan, and that would have been a heck of a finish for them. But but that's just football is sometimes a game of inches, and that's what that was. And
well, look at the Cubs finally won the World Series. I mean, they get off to a 5-zip lead, and it looks like it's going to go the other way. Then they have to take a break just as the Indians are really coming on. Turns out the Cubs win.
Yeah.
Wow, what a real struggle the whole series, and two teams, especially the Cubs. Cubs hadn't won since 1918. The Indians hadn't won since 1940, so this was really a thing. And the Cubs pull it out. It was just, and the Indians have never been the same.
Yeah, there was some divine intervention in that.
I think there was a little divine. Yeah, I mean,
think back with that when they had to delay the game.
Oh, they had to delay the game. Yeah, and the Indians were playing hard ball then. The Cubs seemed to be back
killed
on
their momentum.
It totally killed their momentum. Is right. Yeah. Cubs were back on their heels a little bit. They were kind of looking around like, what are we doing here? And when they came back, the Cubs had got a hold of themselves, and oh man. But anyway, that's sports. That's what makes it so.
And that's
what makes it so much fun.
This weekend there's 4 NFL playoff games, and quite honestly, I think all 4 of them are up for grabs. You've got Dallas going out to play the Rams, and I'll tell you, Dallas is hot right now. They're playing really good defense. Their offense is playing better, and they're giving up some points to the Rams. I think it's 5 or 6 points, but I think they're going to beat the Rams. And I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm not a Jerry Jones
I definitely
fan.
am not. You want to talk about how games are won or lost in just the last couple of seconds. I still remember the 1975 playoffs, Dallas Cowboys and my Minnesota Vikings. Roger Staubach throws a Hail Mary pass to Drew Pearson, and they win the game. Fran Tarkington's dad, who was a minister, was watching the game, and he had a heart attack and died watching that play. It was just a terrible.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a true story. Yeah. Oh, God.
No, it's it'll be a fun weekend if you love NFL football, because I think all of them are going to be close games, and
I'm really pulling for the Chargers. Come on, Chargers.
Yeah, a lot of people are. They're kind of pulling for, the quarterback there, and with the Chargers, Phillip Rivers, and he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's never been in the playoffs much, and he's going up against, of course, Tom Brady on their home turf.
Yeah,
but they'll all be interesting games for different reasons. I know the Chief fans are all worried because I think the Chiefs are 1-11 in the last several years with their playoff record.
Yeah.
And the Colts have been a big part of that losing streak that the Chiefs had. And the Colts are hot right now. They're playing extremely good football. And so that's going to be an interesting game. And,
they got Luck healthy.
Yeah, Luck's healthy, and they got a good running back in this Mack, I think is his name. And they're playing good defense, and so that'll be a tough game. And what'll be interesting to see is what the weather's going to be like in Kansas City, because there's supposed to be some bad weather flowing through the Midwest and mostly southern Iowa, but in Missouri. So it'll be interesting to see what hits in Kansas City and what that'll be like.
Well, from
So-
what I hear from the guy on the radio, yeah, we're supposed to have crappy weather starting overnight, certainly Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, freezing, drizzle, rain, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the snow is supposed to hit south of us, but so yeah, it'll be fun.
Most
It'll be
of the snow,
interesting
yeah.
to see NFL football, and then you mentioned the Clemson game, and I think the Notre Dame fans felt good about that because Clemson humiliated Notre Dame,
Yeah.
and then it turns out that maybe Clemson's just that much better than everybody else when they really took it to Alabama, and that was Nick Saban's worst loss of his career.
Boy.
And to do that in the national championship game.
Oh,
the only bad news about
primetime
that,
television,
Yeah.
big rematch coming up.
but I hate to give Nick Saban more motivation, and I'm afraid that he's going to be so motivated for next season that Alabama will be back and tougher than heck next year, and they've got their quarterback back, so
Yeah, sure.
they'll be really good. Of course.
Right away, the sports guys, though, on ESPN, and I watch a lot of the morning sports shows,
Yeah.
sports talk shows. Is this it for Nick Saban?
Oh, I
You
know it. Yeah.
I mean, he's coming up on his 67th or 68th birthday. I hate to tell you, but that's our age, Randy. Saban's right in there somewhere. He's going to be 68 or something. But yeah, he lost a big game on national television. He lost a national championship game, and Clemson mauled him. They really
Right.
did. And the Alabama quarterback fell apart. I can never pronounce the young man's name. He's a
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy candidate again this year,
Right.
and he's a great player. But Saban will quit when Saban wants to quit, and I don't. And he's certainly not going to quit after this loss.
No,
it might,
no.
as you say, motivate him
I
to
think
come
it'll really
roaring back.
motivate him to come back, and he's going to want to win another national championship before he retires. And
Yeah.
when you're making $11 million a year, it's tough to retire.
Not to say that he couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think a lot of people were happy to see Clemson beat Alabama just because that's what was that, the fifth straight national championship game against those two programs.
Well, like I
Fourth
told
or
you,
fifth.
I told you off mic, man. I haven't seen a University of Iowa Hawkeye team anywhere near those two ever.
Yeah.
We're paying our coach $5 million a year.
Yeah. But, most teams in the country can say the same thing.
You're right.
that,
You're right.
Those teams are just loaded, and the rich just keep getting richer. If you look at the recruiting rankings, Alabama's always either 1 or 2, and Clemson's always, in the top 3 or 4 or 5 at the most. And so they're loaded with a lot of talent. And this might surprise you, but the budgets, Alabama's football budget's huge, but the Alabama's football staff, when you think of not only the assistant coaches, but all the support staff for Alabama football, 107 people.
107, really?
Yeah. And the average nationwide for Power 5 NCAA football schools is 52. So they have more than twice as many staff
Around the
support-
football
around
program.
the football program than most other Power 5 programs have. And of course, they've got the money to do it. But to me, the NCAA's got to control that. They've got to get in and say, you can't have that kind of an advantage.
The NCAA is never going to do a thing. They want to keep that money train going, and they don't have to pay their players anything. It's really something.
But it's not healthy for college football.
I agree with
to have the same two teams playing each other in the national championship
agree
game
100%.
every year.
You're right.
And that could end up again next year the same way, because
it wouldn't surprise me.
Clemson's got their quarterback back, and so is Alabama, and they
demolished Notre Dame. I mean,
Yeah.
Notre Dame is supposed to be. Oh wow, Notre Dame. This could be their year. Yeah,
it's kind of the top two and then everybody else, and that's not good. That's not healthy, in my opinion, for college football. So, so that was kind of an interesting game. It surprised a lot of people. I thought after I watched Clemson take Notre Dame apart, I thought they'd have a really good chance of beating Alabama, but I was thinking by maybe a field goal or something, and no one saw that coming. And they really did get Saban and his staff got totally outcoached in that game. I mean,
Wow.
they made some bad decisions. That fake field goal when everybody knew, including
What was
Clemson.
going on with that?
Yeah, so it was a bad day for Alabama and another great day for Clemson.
But I'll tell you, the star of the show was Trevor Lawrence, a quarterback for the Clemson
Yeah.
Tigers. 6'6", 215 pounds. He was unbelievable.
Yeah, and he, they've said, a lot of people said if he could come out right now as a 19-year-old freshman to the NFL, he'd be the number 1 draft choice.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt. After that performance?
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's got 2 more years. He's got to hang in there 2 more years before he can go to the NFL. So,
which is wrong as well. I mean, the college basketball is a one and done.
Yeah.
I don't know why it doesn't apply. Well, I do know why it applies. I just mentioned a little while ago, the NCAA and the NFL want to keep that money train going. And the NFL wants to make sure they get a minor league that they don't have to pay for. That's a racket. I don't care.
Yeah. And it's interesting how, basketball is one and done. Baseball is you either come out in high school after your senior year and go in the Major League Baseball, or if you go to college, you've got to stay 3 years. And in football, you can't even come out of high school. You've got to go to college and play for 3 years. And
I think every now and then a football player is a walk-on comes out after high school, but it's
not in the NFL. You can't.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Remember Otis Sistrunk from the Oakland A's?
Oh yeah.
He got out
from the University of Mars.
Yeah, yeah. He never played college ball, but he played semi-pro ball. He was a construction worker by trade.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he played semi-pro ball out in California where he was from. So he walked on the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
And tried out, and by God, he was with them.
I think the rule now is you can't go to the NFL until 3 years after your graduating year from high school. So whether you're playing somewhere else or in college, but it's 3 years out. And quite honestly, I'd like to see that rule in basketball. I'd rather say
you would.
I would rather. The one and done thing is a joke because Mike, these guys, they go to Kentucky or they go to Duke, they take easy classes in the fall, okay, and then they register for classes in the spring to be eligible to play. But then they know they're coming out, so they don't even go to class. And then once the season's over, they withdraw from those classes, and they're off to the NBA. So they're not college athletes, and it's just a joke.
It is.
And
I mean, Kevin Durant did that.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the greatest players in the NBA today.
And so why not let them just like LeBron did? That rule wasn't there when LeBron was in high school, and he went right into the NBA.
Yeah.
So, let them go right in the NBA, and the ones that aren't good enough, they can go on to college, and then have that rule where, just like you have with baseball, that you got to stick with us for 3 years. And so I think that would be great for college basketball, but and the NBA loves the rule, the one and done rule, because they get to see these top level basketball players perform at the highest level in college for a year before they make a decision on whether they want to draft them or not. And so they're doing the same thing. They're kind of using it as a 1 year, tryout, so to speak. They could watch them and say, hey, is this guy as good as we thought he was when he was in high school? And so, so the NBA likes the one and done rule. I think administrators, coaches, and ADs would love to see that change, and let them go out in high school or 3 years in college. But they it's really the NBA that's stopping that now. So it is what it is. But you got Duke, like this year, they've got 3 or 4 freshmen. They're going to be one and doneers. Kentucky normally has that. I don't think they will this year, but they normally have 2 or 3 one and doneers every year, and it's the same programs getting them, for the most part. And so
Randy Kuhlman is our guest. I almost called you Randy Cranbrink again. I'm going to go ahead and make I apologize. I don't mean to be doing that, but I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction as far as the Super Bowl. We kind of started out a little bit with the NFL, but I'm going to say the Eagles are going to repeat.
Are you really?
I think the Eagles are going to repeat. They have Nick Foles back, and he looks again in
he's
top
playing
form.
well.
Top form once again. He really may take out Carson Wentz this time around. Carson Wentz, I hope he doesn't turn into Andrew Luck where he's out half the time, because he's a great player. And I love watching him play. But I think they'll beat, and I don't want to say this, but I think Tom Brady has got the Chargers number. And I think the Patriots will beat the Chargers, but I do think the Eagles will beat the Patriots again this year. Because I think the Eagles have the Patriots number. I really do.
Well,
I think they know how to play the Patriots, and they're not
it'll be
afraid of
interesting.
them. I'll tell you that.
My pick would be I think it's going to be New Orleans. They're going to be home all the way through.
They're the dark horse, and Drew Brees is 39 years old. He's at the top of his game.
Yeah. So I'm picking. I think it'll be New Orleans, and I'm hoping for Kansas City. I think that would be
great.
I'm tired of seeing the Patriots in there, and
I am real sick of it.
So I'd love to see the Chiefs get in there. And
Chiefs and the Saints.
Saints.
That's thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
Randy.
Yeah,
That's good.
It's a little bit, but we'll see. It's the thing about football is the thing I've noticed about the playoffs is how much better the defense is. The playoffs so far, the defense has been a lot of these games have been defensive battles.
Yeah.
And so it'll be fun. It'll be interesting. This I always think this week and the next week are great. To me, almost the Super Bowl is anticlimactic. I mean, I think getting there is the fun part to see who actually gets there. So it'll be a fun weekend to see how everything shakes out.
Yeah, I like Super Bowl Sunday because of the TV commercials.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say the halftime performance.
Well, that too. The last halftime show I really enjoyed, I think, was Travis Tritt when they were in Atlanta, and that's been several years ago.
Yeah.
I was kind of lately the shows have gotten away from me. I think Katy Perry, I know she's very popular with young people, but I didn't get it. I mean,
flying around the stadium.
I didn't get it. I didn't get the music and or anything like that. I realize I'm an older man and we have another generation, and that's fine. I
don't know who is doing the halftime show this year.
They went round and round about it. I think they wanted to get somebody politically correct.
Yeah.
But
the Super Bowl is in Atlanta this year.
Right.
And
it's in Atlanta again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had Travis Tritt was from Georgia, and he this was back in the 90s now that I think about it. And he was right at the peak of his country music career. And he got out there and really put on a great show.
Oh, yeah.
He really put on a great show.
I liked, they had Paul McCartney one year I thought was great. And, And this
he's a singer of our generation,
Yeah. They had Michael Jackson one year, and I thought he did a good job. He was quite an entertainer, but
he really was.
Yeah. So it'll be that's not too far away, but
all right, Randy, we're talking sports with Randy Coleman, and we'll be back.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, it's exactly 4:30. The news is next. We'll be talking sports with Randy. Give us a call, 955-1400.
Imagining a better bank starts with looking at the savings rates most banks offer and saying, really? Capital One is building something better. You can open a Capital One savings account with one of the nation's best savings rates from anywhere, like here, or here, or here. One of the nation's best savings rates. Opened online, at a Capital One location, or from anywhere. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One NA, member FDIC. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Guys, the secret is out. If you want healthy intimacy, your body needs nitric oxide. And now you can boost your nitric oxide production faster than you thought possible with Ageless Male Tonight, the absurdly fast formula from the #1 brand in male enhancement. Just take one capsule an hour before romantic activity. You'll get clinically tested ingredients that rapidly boost nitric oxide production, and it won't go unnoticed. Ageless Mail Tonight has already taken Rite Aid by storm, but you can get started by having 5 free doses delivered to your door. Just pay shipping and handling. No questionnaires, no online test. Just call 1-800-454-8044. After a long back order, Ageless Mail Tonight is finally back in stock. For your 5 free doses, just call 1-800-454-8044. If results are too intense, please decrease use. 1-800-454-8044. 1-800-454-8044.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. 3 men arrested in Kossuth County in the past week faced third-degree kidnapping charges for allegedly trying to prevent a person from providing information to authorities. Radio Iowa's Brian Wilson reports.
Criminal complaints filed on December 31st state that the alleged victim got into a car with Joshua James Smith and Austin Allen Hammond in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2017, and taken to a rural area of northwest Kossuth County and assaulted. Afterwards, the alleged victim stated that he wanted to go home and instead was taken to the Goose Lake Wildlife Area in far northern Kossuth County and assaulted once again. It is alleged that Christian Daniel Whitesell was present at Goose Lake and allowed for the victim to be assaulted for a second time. Now, Hammond was arrested on January 4th by the Algona Police Department. Smith and Whitesell were taken into custody by the Kossuth County Sheriff's Department on January 7th. The charge of third-degree kidnapping is a Class C felony. Hammond is scheduled to have a preliminary hearing in Kossuth County Court on January 15th, while Smith and Whitesell are scheduled to appear on January 18th. Reporting from Algona, Brian Wilson for Radio Iowa.
Iowa Congressman Steve King tweeted this morning that if President Trump declares a state of emergency for border security, Trump should build the whole wall out of concrete. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson reports.
Congressman King said a concrete wall along the U.S.-Mexico border would stand forever as a monument to the rule of law. King went on the House floor early in his congressional career with his own model for a fence and a wall along the southern border. King's model called for precast concrete panels 10 feet wide and 13 feet high. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
Much of the southern third to half of Iowa should be buried under snow by Saturday afternoon. Alan Curtis, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service office in Johnston, says the snow is expected to start falling by late this afternoon.
We're not looking at extreme totals by any stretch, but totals could range from as much as about 4 to 6 inches down to the south and towards the Missouri border, and then more towards the 1 to 3, 2 to 3 inch range as we get towards I-80 and just north of there.
A winter weather advisory is posted for an area along and south of Interstate 80. Once the snow tapers off on Saturday, mild conditions are expected through the weekend with highs mainly in the 30s to low 40s. In local sports, number 6 Fort Dodge Wrestling defeated number 3 Waukee last night at the Fort Dodge Senior High Gym by a score of 33-25. Picking up wins for the Dodgers were Drake Ayala, Carson Taylor, Brooks and Lane Cowell, Drazon Phillips, Dravon Ross, Savion Wheat, and Tristan Licht. The Dodgers will be on the road in Illinois this weekend. It's rivalry night for Fort Dodge basketball as the Dodgers host Mason City. Girls game is at 6:15 with the boys following at 7:45 on 92.1 The Eagle. St. Edmund is at Iowa Falls Alden with the girls starting at 6:15 and the boys at 7:45 on Sunny 99.7. South Central Calhoun is at Alta with radio coverage on 105.9 The Beach at 6 p.m. This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD Weatherology forecast. High of 35 this afternoon under overcast skies, winds out of the southeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy skies. Tonight, chance of snow, lows around 25. Chance of snow again tomorrow, high of 32, cloudy. Temperatures a bit above average Sunday and Monday with highs from the mid-30s to the upper 30s. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 33.
From the Fox Business Network, shoppers have a little extra cash in their pockets. Consumer prices dropping in December. Overall inflation is up just under 2% in the past year. It's the first time it's dipped below that number since August of 2017. The number led lower by a big decline in airfare, also gas prices. Now, speaking of gas prices, the national average for regular unleaded holding steady this week, a gallon now costing $2.24. down around 25 cents from this time last year. Drivers, though, could still be in store for a little pain at the pump. That's because oil prices are now on the rise, up more than 7% this week. A barrel now costing $51.69. To Wall Street, the Dow falling just slightly on Friday, but investors, at least for now, are shaking off that partial government shutdown. The Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P 500 all higher for the week. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Connell McShane.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm Jake. And I'm Jack. We're the Plow Guys. How do we keep your driveways clean? With commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. They help through the customized insurance plan that keeps our business on the road. And that's news worth shouting out loud simultaneously.
Enthusiastic yelling at the same time.
Yeah!
Terrible. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit progressivecommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated in third-party insurers.
Some of the U.S. food trends expected this year come from people wanting to know as much about their food as they can. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
People are wanting to learn more about their food. They're also looking to know where it came from, what ingredients are actually in it.
That's Megan Meyer with the International Food Information Council Foundation. She says they predict people will continue to eat less sugar.
This is coming at a particularly relevant time with the last iteration of the dietary guidelines recommending a set amount to limit your calories from added sugars. And more companies are innovating with low or no calorie sweetener options.
She says there is also consumer research showing food allergies will be center stage this year.
FDA is looking into labeling sesame as a potential allergen. And I think there was a couple news stories even this week about how many Americans think they have a food allergy versus an intolerance, and new therapeutics are coming out on market.
Another trend that is not going away is plant-based diets. Meyer says consumers surveyed say they plan to continue diets that are high in vegetables.
There's numbers out there just showing growth, in the double digits year after year for the past few years. And we asked Americans, what kind of diets are they following? And a lot of those diets include plant-based products.
I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how, and we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids need to know the dangers and how to avoid them. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids, because when you talk, they hear you.
Hi, it's Tori DeVito. In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. Like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic.
Your honesty about that part of your life gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted to uphold in my own life.
I wanted you to know, from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now, that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs. I said it a lot, and I'm glad you took it to heart.
Talk, they hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
The General Store is giving you the VIP treatment. Come in today and pick up the General Store VIP punch card. For every transaction of $10 on regularly priced merchandise you make, you'll get 1 punch on your card. When you have 5 punches, they'll give you $10 off your next regularly priced purchase. Don't wait. The special VIP treatment is for a limited time only. Remember, everything at the General Store is always tax-free, and all proceeds go toward helping people in our community. Get the VIP treatment today at the General Store, 12 North 25th, Fort Dodge. Fort Dodge location only. Flu season is here. Have you had your shot? Make sure you and your family are protected from the flu by stopping into Daniel Pharmacy for your flu shot. The pharmacists at Daniel Pharmacy are ready to give you your shot today. While you're at Daniel's, they'll check your immunization record to see if you also need a pneumonia, shingles, or whooping cough vaccine. And if you've got a cold, let their helpful staff show you which over-the-counter cold medication works best. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Tough as nails, nerves of steel. If you've come to test our metal, you better tighten up your chin strap. Get amped up for all the gridiron action on the Panther Sports Network.
University of Northern Iowa Sports are brought to you on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD by Mitch Lund State Farm, Party Productions, The Other Store, and New Age Media. Catch UNI Sports right here on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right. We got 60 rounds of freedom all time here. Hip Hop Hooray, AM 1400 KVFD, the Voice of Fort Dodge. It's Friday. That's always good. It means we're talking sports with Randy Kuhlman. You know, there was a UNI advertisement on just a minute ago, a promotion, and we carry the UNI games here, football and basketball. We never talk about them, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, and I guess I should tune in sometimes to my own radio station and listen to UNI.
Well, you know, they're having basketball-wise, they're having a tough year there.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah.
And their football team, and I've talked to Mark Farley a couple times on the air. He's a very straight guy and no-nonsense guy. I've spoken to him on the phone a time or two. But his football team hasn't been that good the last couple of years either.
Well, they've been decent, you know, and you know they beat a good South Dakota State team this year, and I think they gave a pretty good game to North Dakota State, who won like their fifth or sixth straight national championship just last week, and they're in a tough league. I mean, the league that UNI's in has got some of the top teams in that division in that league, and you know, when you only have 65 scholarships, you get a few injuries and you're getting down kind of low. So, but basketball wise, Jacobson's always been kind of seen as kind of the basketball genius in Iowa, with, you know, taking, you know, teams and making them overperform and coaching them in a very impressive way. But he had a tough year last year, and then they're having a real tough year this year as well. They've had a couple injuries, some starters are out, and they've just had trouble scoring. So they play hard, they fight and play good defense, but they have a tough time scoring, and their record's not very good this year. So they've got some rebuilding to do there.
Well, that's a nice little arena they have over there to play in.
Yeah, it is very nice,
and they have a couple of really good Fort Dodge Senior High wrestlers over there now. The Lamar brothers are over there, and I'm going to get tickets and go over there and see them wrestle one of these days.
Yeah.
I think Cade Lara was a senior here last year, so I don't know if he's in the starting lineup or not, but I'm sure Tristan is.
Yeah,
and Tristan was a two-time state champion here, I think.
You know, and the Dodgers last night had a big victory over number 3 rated Waukee, was it? I think. In wrestling.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah, that was I think the Dodgers are ranked 6th and Waukee was ranked 3, and the Dodgers handled them. So they're doing well, and despite some injuries that they've had early on. So kudos to them.
And we haven't had Bobby Thompson in here this year, which is he's done a terrific job on
that. Yep, absolutely. So, and tomorrow, getting back to tomorrow in basketball, Iowa State plays an early game tomorrow for basketball, 11 o'clock game.
Iowa State does?
Yeah, against Kansas State, who's a good ball club. They've had a couple starters out that I know one of them's back. Their big man, Dean Wade, is a all Big 12 player last year, has been out with a foot problem for quite a while, and I'm not sure he's going to play, but that'll be a good game. I think the Clones are going to bounce back from the disappointing loss that they had at Baylor a few nights ago, and that place will be rocking and rolling at Hilton again, and so I anticipate the Clones won't have any trouble. But you never know, and K-State's a good ball club, so could be a good game. And then right after that, about 1 or 1:30, the Hawkeyes play Ohio State and Iowa City, and so two good college basketball games back to back on TV tomorrow. So I'm not going to get anything done tomorrow, Mike, because then we go right into the playoffs for football.
Well, the weather's it's supposed to be kind of nastier now.
I almost hope it will be. Now it gives me an excuse.
Yeah. Well, let's just make plans to go down to Lefties and sit there all day, or the sports page or somewhere.
Yeah.
And be done with it. But it's it wouldn't bother me to have a snow day tomorrow. Wouldn't bother me. But and I've said this many times in the past, maybe not to you, but kind of after the Super Bowl, we're in a little bit of a dead area there. We do get into March Madness and stuff,
right,
which is good. Well, that's very exciting. But mainly, I find myself waiting for baseball to start again.
Yeah.
It's just that time of year, I guess. That my birthday's in February, and it's just cold and gray, and I'm ready for something else.
Kind of like you.
Yeah, cold and gray. Not much warmth left in me anymore. So.
That's right.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
I was looking at the final rankings, and I do have those, and I just shake my head at these things. I just don't get it when I look at the AP 25 after all the postseason football games and bowls are over, and I see teams. Iowa is ranked 25th in the AP poll and the coaches poll, but I look at Fresno State ranked 18th. And I looked this up, Mike. Fresno State this year, they don't play in the Power 5 conference.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to Minnesota and to Boise State. Utah State is ranked 21st. They lost to Michigan State and Boise State. Boise State is 23rd. They lost to Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns and then got beat by San Diego State and Fresno State. And they're ranked 23 ahead of the Hawkeyes. And I look at Iowa State, and Iowa State is, they got votes, but down the list. And yet, here's Washington State ranked 10th. And Iowa State, quite honestly, should have beaten Washington State.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I thought Iowa State was the better team. And
they didn't have a good game that day. I mean,
right.
I really think the officiating hurt them.
It did.
But they weren't as...
They had some penalties that really hurt them.
They did. In that, especially that second targeting call was completely
right. Yeah.
ridiculous. And
I hope the NCAA...
They need to do something with that rule.
I
support the rule, but they got to look at it.
Yeah, they've got to figure out how to administer that rule, because a lot of the times these running backs are running at you, and you're going for their belt buckle to tackle them, and then they drop their head down.
Yes, they do.
Next thing you know, you got a collision in their helmet, and you're thrown out of a ball game, and it's just.
I saw that during the Clemson-Alabama game. I don't know who it was, but the defensive back was moving to the line of scrimmage, aiming for, as you say, the belt or his legs or something. And the running back put his head down. It was helmet to helmet. They cracked each other pretty good.
Yep.
Nothing was called, but it could have been. That would have been a flat-out targeting play.
And the thing is, this year there's a rule that the offensive back, if he puts his head down, can get called for targeting.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
And I've never seen it called this year. I talked to a guy the other day that said he saw it called once this year. But it's like, why should the offensive player be able to duck his head and use his helmet as a battering ram when he's running the ball, but the defense can't do the same thing? And so it's a tough call, because many times when you're the ball carrier, you're ducking your head to protect yourself. Sure. And so it's such a subjective call, and that's what happened to that second one with the clones. And then, of course, they had that touchdown that Washington State scored, and it showed that the offensive lineman from Washington State had moved early, but the officials never called it. And that was the one, if you recall, that Matt Campbell went crazy on, and rightfully so. But I look at these rankings, and I just shake my head when you look at some of these teams that are in these non-Power 5 conferences, and they're going 10-2, and now they're ranked 18th in the country. And I said, "What are you kidding me?" And And so it's and then you got, for example, Washington State is rated 10th. Washington is rated 13th. Well, Washington beat Washington State this year and won their conference. And then they went in and gave Ohio State a good football game in the Rose Bowl. And yet they got Washington State ranked ahead of them. I just don't get it. And so it's one of those weird things that, and it's amazing how close the AP and the coaches poll are. I mean, they're almost exactly alike.
You know, we should, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but before I want to take just a moment to thank God that Nevin Mulholland isn't here today, because he predicted that the Cyclone basketball team would beat KU, and of course they did.
Right.
So he was going to be in here, I'm sure, talking all kinds of smack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I predicted it. I called it. You and I were on a text thread with him. There he was.
But like I said, actually Vegas had Iowa State winning that game. So it wasn't just like that he was an outlier on that deal,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
Vegas actually had Iowa State winning that game by 3 points or something.
Oh,
and
did they?
That was with their big guy, with Kansas's big guy playing, and then he ended up not playing. He ended up injuring his wrist and is now out for the year, which is really going to open up the Big 12 for teams like Iowa State and Texas Tech's looking awful good, and so it's Kansas is very vulnerable right now, I think, because they don't have a lot of depth in that 4 and 5 spot area. So this could be the year that somebody finally knocks Kansas off the top of the Big 12. So I think they've won the conference, 14 straight years now or something like that.
Yeah.
So
how did Nevin get to be such a KU fan? Because when his kids started going?
Yeah. When Connor went to
KU for undergrad.
Undergrad, he got into, and he's a big basketball fan, and and KU has a phenomenal program, and it's easy to get caught up and become a KU fan. But it's still, he still doesn't. I mean, he bleeds blue, but not KU blue. He bleeds Creighton blue.
Yeah.
And they lost an amazing game the other night. They had like a 5-point lead with 10 seconds to go in the game, and ended up Marquette ended up tying them in that 10 seconds, and then beating them in overtime. And the point guard for Marquette had an off night. He only had 53 that night. So, Nevin, it was a good thing he wasn't around to see that one. He would have been pulling his hair out for that game. But, that college basketball, as you know, Mike, has become a 3-point shooting game. And you can have off shooting nights. And if you have an off shooting night and your opponent gets hot, you can get beat by somebody a much lesser team. And I think that's kind of what happened to Iowa State the other night at Baylor.
That was a surprise.
It was
Baylor
a big
beat 'em.
surprise. But Baylor, that point guard for them that was averaging about 8 or 9 points a game, went off for like 24 against Iowa State and was hitting everything. And they ended up pulling out a victory against the Clones, and disappointing loss, no question, because when you're trying to win a conference championship, those are the kind of games on the road that you need to win. But the season's a long season. They'll bounce back, and they'll still be in the thick of things. And they've had some tough luck. The Lard kid got hurt again in that game against Baylor with a sprained ankle, so he's going to be out another couple of weeks probably, or a week or so. And but I'll tell you, Iowa State, and they're ranked. I don't know what they're ranked in the top 20 now, and deservedly so. And their guard play has been fantastic, and that's without Wigington playing very well. Wigington, who was their superstar freshman last year, has not been playing particularly well. He had a foot injury. It was holding him out early for the first part of the season, and he's still kind of trying to work his way back into form. And when he does that, look out, because they've got a bunch of people that can score the basketball, and 3-point shooters, and And this Shayok kid they got is leading the Big 12 in scoring for Iowa State, and he's a good one to transfer from Virginia. So they've got the talent down there, and I still think them and Iowa State and Texas Tech could be right there with Kansas at the end, and so it'll be a fun race to watch. And
I'm glad to see the Hawkeyes are playing a little bit better.
Yeah,
we the last couple of weeks here we've been kind of rolling our eyes at the Hawkeyes because they deserved it.
Yeah,
but they seem to have come around a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I watched them play Nebraska. What was it, a week ago or something?
Yeah, and that was a nice win for Nebraska's not a bad basketball team.
Didn't look like it to me.
And that was a nice win at home for them, and then going on the road to beat a decent but not great Northwestern team. But they beat Northwestern without Tyler Cook. He sat out with a knee injury, so we were beginning to wonder if Iowa would even win a road game this year. So they're playing with more confidence. Bohannon finally getting his stroke back again, which they badly needed, and so hopefully they'll keep it going. And Ohio State comes in as a top 25 team into Carver Hawkeye tomorrow, and we'll see what happens there. I don't know if Cook's for Iowa's going to play or not. It'll be tough for them to beat Ohio State without Cook, in my opinion. But Ohio State
it's not impossible. Yeah.
No, Ohio State went on the road and got beat by Rutgers the other night. So like I said, anything can happen in college basketball, and it usually does. So,
usually does.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And
so who's going to win the Big Ten title this year? Is it going to be Michigan?
I think it'll be Michigan. Although Michigan State's playing awful well too. So
I've seen them both play. I'm going to give it to Michigan.
I do. I
have to predict.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Could be. It may be.
I would agree. And
I like Tom Izzo too of the Michigan State. He's a great.
Yeah.
He's a character and he's a good coach, I think. And
he's it's an interesting story. I when I was in my coaching days back a few decades ago, I was assistant coach at Western Illinois. Tom Izzo was the assistant coach at Northern Michigan.
Oh, he was.
And they were in our conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd often run into Izzo in Chicago recruiting, and we had a beer or two together. And he's a couple years younger than me, but I knew Tom when he was a 28-year-old assistant coach at Northern Michigan, and he was an intense guy back then too. And then he got hooked on with Judd Heathcote at the Michigan State staff and worked for Judd for a number of years as his assistant. And of course, Judd won a national championship with Magic Johnson and that team. And then when Judd retired, they gave the job to Izzo, and he's done a phenomenal job there at Michigan State.
Has Michigan State under Izzo won a national championship? They have.
Yeah. They've won one, and they've been to 2 or 3 other Final Fours. And but Michigan in the last 4 or 5 years has outperformed. And Beeline at Michigan's got a better record against Izzo, and Michigan's been in the Final Four 2 of the last 4 years. So people kind of forget about how good Michigan basketball is.
That's right. Well, we're going to go with Michigan for right now, and we'll be back next Friday, no doubt. Have a great weekend, Randy.
Yeah, you too, Mike.
5 o'clock in the afternoon. Beware the weather. Yeah, it's supposed to be nasty tonight and most of the day tomorrow. 5 o'clock, KVFD. Fort Dodge, Iowa. Fox News is coming up.
No national emergency yet. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Trump today saying he's not ready to declare a national emergency to circumvent Congress and get funding for his border wall, but warns he will act if lawmakers don't.
If they can't do it, I will declare a national emergency.
The border wall funding issue is the main roadblock to ending the partial government shutdown. The president says he won't sign any budget bills unless they contain money for his wall. Some Republicans are breaking rank with the president and calling for an end to the partial government shutdown.
Alaska Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski says she wants to reopen the government while discussions continue over border security.
Shutting down the government is not governing.
The House passed bills to reopen the Environmental Protection Agency, the Forest Service, and the Interior Department. California Democrat Jared Huffman.
We may soon have enough trash building up in our national parks to build a wall.
Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has said he will not bring legislation to the floor that the president will not sign.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland in Washington. A federal employees union is now suing the Trump administration over the ongoing shutdown.
The union, representing thousands of the nation's air traffic controllers, has sued the federal government because its members are working without a paycheck and have also been deprived overtime pay. The federal suit claims the government is in violation of the Fifth Amendment because it unlawfully deprived the air traffic controllers of their earned wages without due process. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association is requesting a hearing on its motion for a temporary restraining order against the government.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has suspended Broward County Sheriff Scott Israel for his handling of the mass shooting at a Parkland high school. 17 died in that shooting last Valentine's Day. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
For all of U.S.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. 3 men arrested in Kossuth County in the past week faced third-degree kidnapping charges for allegedly trying to prevent a person from providing information to authorities. Radio Iowa's Brian Wilson reports.
Criminal complaints filed on December 31st state that the alleged victim got into a car with Joshua James Smith and Austin Allen Hammond in the early morning hours of May 29th, 2017, and taken to a rural area of northwest Kossuth County and assaulted. Afterwards, the alleged victim stated that he wanted to go home and instead was taken to the Goose Lake Wildlife Area in far northern Kossuth County and assaulted once again. It is alleged that Christian Daniel Whitesell was present at Goose Lake and allowed for the victim to be assaulted for a second time. Now, Hammond was arrested on January 4th by the Algona Police Department. Smith and Whitesell were taken into custody by the Kossuth County Sheriff's Department on January 7th. The charge of third-degree kidnapping is a Class C felony. Hammond is scheduled to have a preliminary hearing in Kossuth County Court on January 15th, while Smith and Whitesell are scheduled to appear on January 18th. Reporting from Algona, Brian Wilson for Radio Iowa.
Iowa Congressman Steve King tweeted this morning that if President Trump declares a state of emergency for border security, Trump should build the whole wall out of concrete. Radio Iowa's O.K. Henderson reports.
Congressman King said a concrete wall along the U.S.-Mexico border would stand forever as a monument to the rule of law. King went on the House floor early in his congressional career with his own model for a fence and a wall along the southern border. King's model called for precast concrete panels 10 feet wide and 13 feet high. Radio Iowa, I'm O.K. Henderson.
Much of the southern third to half of Iowa should be buried under snow by Saturday afternoon. Alan Curtis, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service office in Johnston, says the snow is expected to start falling by late this afternoon.
We're not looking at extreme totals by any stretch, but totals could range from as much as about 4 to 6 inches down to the south and towards the Missouri border, and then more towards the 1 to 3, 2 to 3 inch range as we get towards I-80 and just north of there.
A winter weather advisory is posted for an area along and south of Interstate 80. Once the snow tapers off on Saturday, mild conditions are expected through the weekend with highs mainly in the 30s to low 40s. In local sports, number 6 Fort Dodge Wrestling defeated number 3 Waukee last night at the Fort Dodge Senior High Gym by a score of 33-25. Picking up wins for the Dodgers were Drake Ayala, Carson Taylor, Brooks and Lane Cowell, Drazon Phillips, Dravon Ross, Savion Wheat, and Tristan Licht. The Dodgers will be on the road in Illinois this weekend. It's rivalry night for Fort Dodge basketball as the Dodgers host Mason City. Girls games at 6:15 with the boys, following at 7:45 on 92.1 The Eagle. St. Edmund is at Iowa Falls Alden with the girls starting at 6.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. You jump in, we'll talk about your life and your money. It's a free call at 888-825-5225. We're glad you're here. Mark starts off this hour. Mark's in Huntsville, Alabama. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Hey, Dave, I'm doing great, and it's a pleasure to be talking with you today.
You too, sir. What's up?
Well, I'm a 57-year-old retired military guy, now a government contractor down here in Huntsville. And my wife and I last month just completed baby step 2. Took us 4 years.
Congratulations.
Baby step. Thank you, sir. Starting on baby step 3. I guess my question is kind of twofold. We are in a house that's not our forever home. And when we get done with baby step 3, it took me a while to kind of go through and get my investments going. Between my wife and my IRAs and my 401k, we have about $190,000 in investments.
Good.
My question is, should I increase the investments and just pay the minimum on the house, or should we still try to pay off this house, even though this is not our forever home?
Well, I would do the baby steps in order, even though it's not your forever home. By the way, thank you for your service. Were you 20 year and you've got that coming?
I actually did about 28 years. So, yeah, I have my military retirement from that, and I have some VA disability that I get.
Great. Okay, cool. Well, then what I would do is when you finish baby step 3, I would start baby steps 4, 5, and 6 run simultaneous. 4 is 15%, no more of your income going into retirement. You've got a really good start. A couple $100,000's not a bad start. And then if you have kids that you're paying for college, that's baby step 5. Are there kids involved?
No. Well, our son, we have our son, but he's in his 30s and he has a family in South Carolina.
We're done. Okay.
We're not involved.
So there's no
that.
baby step 5 because there's no college. Okay. So baby step 4 is 15% of your income going into retirement. Any money you can find above that, throw it at the house. Now, here's what will happen. When you sell the house and you move to the, quote, forever house, which I'm not sure there's ever been one of those, but anyway, nobody stays forever in these houses. We all think we're going to. But we move, if you sell it and you've paid it off or you paid it way down, they're going to give you a check at closing. And money's not going away.
Okay.
And the worst case scenario is that it ends up being your forever house and it's paid for.
Right.
Oh, well. And so once it's paid off, then I would start doing additional investing at baby step 7. And I would make some of that investing non-retirement because you're probably going to add that money for your additional. If you move up in house, you'd need some money in addition to the house you sell, because you sell the one you move in, pay cash for the one you land in, quote unquote, at retirement, hopefully forever. And if you want to have some add with that, but I want you to take that 190 and let's just keep piling on there. 15% of your household income. What is your household income?
It's right at $150,000 a year.
Well done. Very well done. So, 15% is only $20,000 a year. Okay. And if you got no debt except the house, 15%, $20,000 a year, you still got plenty of wiggle room in this budget to chunk on this house. Then when do you think you'll move to the, quote, forever house?
We've been talking about it probably within 7 years or so, plus or minus a few years, depending on how things work with the contracting world, with the government.
And is it the location that keeps you from doing that, or something else?
It's primarily the location. I mean, Huntsville is a great town, great city.
Yeah, it is.
But you know, we enjoy the eastern Tennessee, western North Carolina.
Okay, so you're going to the mountains. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's like retirement. When you're done doing your contracting work in Huntsville, you know, in 7-8 years, that is going to be your retirement place then.
Yes.
Okay, cool, very cool. And so, house price might not go. What's the house you're in worth?
As a matter of fact, we just recently had it looked at and appraised, and we refinanced to a 15-year, and it appraised for $345.
Okay, well, you can buy a ton of mountain house for $345.
Right.
So if you got the thing paid off, it's no loss.
True.
Yeah. So it just increases your cash flow until you make the move. But and you probably will have it paid off within 7 years. I bet you do. With your income and with the situation you described to me.